I 22M suspect something between my girlfriend 22F and my friend 21M. We all live together. Am I imagining things? Relationships. We are two couples living together, we all attend the same university. The apartment was originally leased by my girlfriend of about 2 years Alexis 22F and our mutual friend Brooke 22F. The apartment is huge and expensive. There was originally supposed to be 3 girls living there but the last one backed out abruptly. They were planning on moving somewhere cheaper, but they had put a lot of work into the apartment and loved it so much they hated the idea of leaving. I offered to move in when my lease was up in May so we could split the rent and utilities 3 ways. I was sleeping over often anyways. Both girls were absolutely ecstatic about the idea. Shortly before I moved in, Brooke started dating my best friend Derek. This was cool because now both couples got to hang out with their best friends and SOs all at once. It seemed perfect. Derek began sleeping over a lot, and when his parents sold their house and left in October, he temporarily moved in. We haven't really pushed for him to find a new place because splitting everything 4 ways is helping all of us so much. But again, only Alexis and Brooke are on the lease. The apartment owner surprisingly does not mind as long as rent gets paid, because we are always quiet. There are 3 incidents that made me think something was up. If it weren't for these combined incidents, I would never make an accusation like this because Alexis is such a sweet and shy girl and Derek has been a brother to me. They don't seem flirty, but as I mentioned before, all 4 of us are very close friends, so we spend a lot of time together. Incident 1. MWF Brooke and I have early classes, so we're gone by 8 a.m. Derek and Alexis start in the afternoon, so it's not unusual for them to leave together, though they usually take separate cars. One of these days, I decided to wait for Alexis outside of her class so I could surprise her with lunch. I watched everyone shuffle out of the class, but Alexis wasn't with them. I texted her asking where she was and she replied, "Just got out of class, gonna go home to study." I called her to see if I had just barely missed her or something and there was no response, which I considered weird because she had just texted me second ago. She didn't answer until much later, which is also unusual for her. She's one of those girls that's often on her phone. I ran into Brooke later in the day and she mentioned in passing that Derek had stayed home sick, she was going to bring him soup, blah blah. At the time, I didn't think much of it. When I got home later that night I noticed Alexis' car was in the exact same spot. She usually parks in guest parking because our unit only has 3 spaces, as a result her car moves a lot. I asked her if she'd gone to class and she got quiet before sheepishly admitting to skipping because she felt the professor sucked at explaining things, but she knows I hate when she skips classes, something that's gotten her grades in trouble before, but she recently started doing better. I kissed her and said I trusted her judgment. While I was doing the dishes she explained how she probably won't skip again because being bored alone in the house was the worst. I laughed and we went about our business. At night we went to bed and as I laid there drifting off, it hit me. She shouldn't have been alone because Derek was homesick, right? She was still up on her phone, so I popped awake and asked her where Derek was today since Brooke had said he was homesick. She seemed startled by the question, but that may have been from me being half asleep to suddenly wide awake with a random question. She said he was here a bit in the morning but went to do errands or something, she wasn't sure. After the other incidents, I realized that the scattered way she answered this question seemed off, but that may just be my imagination. Incident 2. I went to throw some stuff out in the kitchen garbage when I noticed a condom wrapper that was the exact same brand Alexis and I use. It wasn't super visible, sort of tucked behind a cereal box, but the distinctive color caught my eye. Brooke and Derek always use a different brand free from the University Health Center while ours are expensive Trojans. It was weird because we usually keep the wrappers in our respective rooms' garbage cans so they never appear in the kitchen. Furthermore, because of exams and general stress, Alexis and I hadn't slept together in a few days. I didn't really dig around for a used condom or anything, I just went back to the room to check if any of ours were missing. I really couldn't tell, because we buy in bulk. My first thought was that Brooke and Derek had ran out and broke into our stash and I was upset that they hadn't even asked. Later that night I mentioned the condom wrapper to Alexis and her eyes got wide. When I mentioned my theory she got unusually distressed. She's always very calm and went on a rant about them violating our privacy. I suggested we talk to them about it and she immediately shut the idea down and made me swear not to bring it up unless they did it again. She didn't want to have this awkward conversation, which was weird to me because we're all generally pretty open about sex given that we live together. Though it is possible that Alexis was being genuine because she's from a conservative small town and she doesn't talk about these things as much as we do. Incident 3. Me and Derek are cool with the dudes in the apartment next to us, who are graduates from our university. We don't hang out or anything, but we have the kind of relationship where we make small talk about sports or whatever in the hall and are comfortable asking the other to keep it down without it being awkward. Last Monday during our break I was locking up when no one else was at the apartment, when I ran into one of the guys from next door. We talked football for a bit and then he mentioned that one of the couples in the apartment is really a fan of morning sex and that the walls were way too thin. I laughed because Alexis and I usually had sex weekend mornings when we had the house to ourselves. Brooke and Derek usually spend weekends at her parents' house about an hour and a half away. The more I thought about it later in the day, the more I realized we hadn't been having morning sex in about a month. On the weekends it had been more towards the evening or not at all. Did he mean on weekdays? My heart sort of dropped. I kind of want to ask him to elaborate but the conversation ended and I feel like I missed my chance. Plus it's a weird thing to ask and I feel like I must be being paranoid. So there you have it, r/relationships. Am I crazy? Am I looking for signs that aren't there or is something up? And if so, how do I proceed? I don't want to ask her just yet because one, I don't want to come off as crazy and jealous if nothing's up. Two, if something is up, I don't want them to start hiding it better. I was thinking of dropping by one of those mornings they're alone together but I don't know how to time it right. If I drop by too early or late they might get more cautious. TLDR, several ambiguous incidents have led me to suspect my girlfriend and best friend may be sleeping together, but I don't know if I'm imagining things. Update 1 to 2 days later. The majority of you suggested that I speak to Brooke and or attempt to walk in on the act. I decided on doing both. Sunday night everyone was back in the apartment. I had every intention of speaking to Brooke about the neighbor's comment alone, but before I could she said something that completely threw my theory off. She told Derek to get to bed so he wouldn't be tired for work in the morning. What? I knew Derek has a job on campus, but he had always worked the same night shifts. Being as casual as possible, I inquired how long he'd been working mornings and when he started. He said he picked up the extra shifts a month ago and worked at 9. I leave at 7:45 so it's possible for me not to have noticed that. I spent the rest of the night trying to figure out whether he was lying about that, whether still he had some mornings here at home, whether Alexis could be seeing someone other than Derek in the mornings like some of you suggested, or again if I was just a paranoid loser. I went to bed feeling emotionally drained and confused. The next morning I left for classes as usual and operated on autopilot. I alternated between thinking I'd run home to check on Alexis and thinking I had way too much work to run around based on a theory that I wasn't even sure about anymore. In the end, I walked out of my first class and straight to my car to go home. In a weird way, I sort of wish I hadn't. When I got to the apartment Derek's car wasn't there, just Alexis. I walked to the apartment with my heart pounding all sorts of crazy. I don't know what I was expecting. Outside the apartment door I could immediately hear a guy's voice inside. I heard him talking and laughing and a soft feminine mumble replying and giggling back. I've been on this subreddit long enough to see all the different reactions people have to this situation. I never once contemplated what I'd do. I pressed my ear to the door and see if I could make out what they were saying, but I could only make out a word here and there. There was a lot of giggling. Then, I heard the sound of Alexis being tickled and shrieking. Maybe I should have waited more. In retrospect I wish I did, but I couldn't take it. As soon as I started fiddling with my keys, it was dead silence in there. She was fucking Mark. I never mentioned Mark in the previous post but he's one of the guys in the apartment next to us, not the one that tipped me off. He's the only one I never liked. Fucking know-it-all douchebag attitude. Always made inappropriate comments towards both girls. Never thought anything of it. As soon as I opened the door, they both gave me a deer-in-headlights look that removed any naive doubt I may have retained that the situation was innocent. I was planning on yelling at them or demanded answers, but and this is fucking embarrassing, my eyes began to well with tears. I didn't want them to see that shit. So I said nice. Real fucking nice. And bolted back to my car. I heard Alexis yelling my name in the hallway and picked up the pace. I sort of expected her to be chasing me, but by the time I got to the car there was no one following me. I drove to a park that's near the apartment and sat there in disbelief. My first thought, weirdly enough, was how is my family going to take this? What the hell am I going to tell them? My family fucking loved Alexis. They joked about our wedding and regularly called her part of the family. Then I started thinking about living arrangements. Our finals end in about 2 weeks, there's no way I can handle moving now. I'm applying to an extremely competitive graduate program and I can't let anything get in the way of that. Definitely not this cheating bitch. I'm writing this from a friend's house. I explained the situation, He explained it to his parents and they welcomed me to stay in their home. I'm going to have to go back home to get some clothes sometime. I'm planning on going during this lab period. I know Alexis can't skip tomorrow. It took her an hour or so to start blowing up my phone, but once she did it didn't stop. She started off asking me to come home so she could explain. Before I even had the chance to respond she sent another one begging me to come back because she was having an anxiety attack, something I always help her through. Maybe I'm heartless, but all I could think was good, you earned it. There was a pause and then she sent, I don't know why you get so jealous, we were just hanging out. I waited. She sent, look, I know it looks super sketchy, believe me if I were you I'd think the same thing, but we didn't do anything. He needed advice on his girl problems. You have to believe me. No, I don't. Normally I would have gotten a weird sense of satisfaction watching a cheater scramble to cover their ass, but my stupid brain just kept replaying all these great times we had together and wondering if she was cheating then too. I want to know when this started, but at the same time I'm worried it's been going on for longer than the month I've suspected something. I received a text later that night from a number I didn't recognize. It was the nice dude from next door. He said, paraphrasing because it was a long text, that he got my number from Derek. He was extremely sorry for what I was going through and that he would have told me sooner, but he wasn't completely sure. He said he knew his friend was seeing a girl with a boyfriend, but didn't put it together until he learned the girl's name. As many of you suspected, the comment was him trying to tip me off. So yeah, I guess he's bro of the year. I don't think Derek and Brooke know yet. I haven't texted them. I haven't found the words. I know it's going to turn our living arrangement and friendships upside down. I guess I should message them before Alexis paints a different picture. I wonder what the cool neighbor said when he asked for my number. I don't think he told them, but would have said something. Right? Unless they took her side. Then I've lost my girlfriend and friends. Any advice on coping with something like this, especially from those who have been there before, please let me know. I don't have many friends to reach out to besides the guy I'm staying with. Alexis, Brooke and Derek were basically my family. Alexis and I had talked about spending our lives together. I have never been serious about a girl the way I was with her. Edit, I am seriously moved by the amount of support you guys are giving me here. Please keep them coming. I may not reply to all the comments but I've read each one on both posts. I'm going to tell Derek and Brooke soon. I'll try to do a follow-up when I have some sort of plan. Update 2, you wonderful motherfuckers. Between the comments to both posts and my inbox I have an immense collection of personalized pep talks, which I am referring to whenever I feel down, admittedly, a lot these days. I got advice from all sorts of people, married, single, old, young. Wow. I never thought the internet would bring me this level of support. I just want you guys to know that by just typing up some comments you have made a very real difference in someone's life. Gotta say it feels a little strange receiving 6 Reddit gold and making it to just for sharing the worst day of my life. I got a lot of messages urging me to join Red Pill. This experience has soured my view of Alexis. Not women in general. I got some messages saying I write too well and this is obviously made up. I have 2 words for you, I wish. A clarification on the last update. I wasn't clear about what I see when I walked in. They weren't literally fucking, they were just sitting on the couch with a deer in headlights look that was incredibly incriminating and they both went quiet. It was just obviously not a hey, guess who dropped by situation. Anyways, on to the update. I've been extremely busy with the semester ending and I took the majority's advice to bury my head in work. I've spent a lot of time at the library because Alexis never goes there. In the process of posting the last update I realized how dumb it was that I hadn't contacted Derek and Brooke with my side. I screenshot the text from the cool neighbor, Will. Side note, all names have been changed except Mark because fuck you Mark. Within the minute Derek was blowing up my phone with calls and texts that made it very apparent he didn't know anything. At the same time Alexis was sending texts begging me to meet up with her. I was feeling miserable and sent back a single text to Derek saying I wasn't feeling up to talking, then put my phone away for the night. In the morning I got a text saying to meet him at my favorite restaurant for dinner and drinks on him, assuring me that no one would be there, not even Brooke. I haven't had any appetite since everything went down, but the offer meant a lot and I really did want to see him, so I decided to go after classes. I got to the restaurant first and I had my heart in my throat worrying that Alexis would somehow be there, but she wasn't. Derek came up to me and gave me a big hug and opened with, dude, what the fuck? So here's where shit gets a bit crazy and dramatic. A lot of you suggested that Brooke might side with Alexis or had been covering up for her the whole time. I wasn't so sure, because while she is closer to Alexis, her and I have been friends for a bit longer. According to Derek, as soon as he told Brooke, she was absolutely furious. In his words, I sort of wanted to bitch Alexis out, but Brooke took care of that, and then some. Remember how I said Alexis came from a conservative small town? Her parents had no idea that we were living together, and she constantly stressed that they couldn't know or they'd cut her off financially. They liked me enough to be polite, but they were constantly worried a relationship would distract her from school and didn't want her getting pregnant or whatever. Derek said that Brooke demanded Alexis pack her things and find a new place or she'd call up her parents and tell them everything. Derek told me that later that night Alexis was sitting in the living room hugging a sweater I'd left behind and wailing at the top of her lungs that her life was over when Brooke yelled from her bedroom, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucked Mark then." Imagining that moment was kind of funny. Brooke's always been a very no-nonsense girl with a hot temper, but I definitely didn't expect this. It was extremely touching that she took the cheating that seriously. During that dinner all my fears that I'd lost my friends were completely washed away and I was able to choke down a few pieces of sushi. When we left dinner, Derek promised to let me know when Alexis was gone so I could move back in. I declined his offer, because even if she does move out, everything in that apartment reminds me of her, including Derek and Brooke too. Alexis and Mark probably fucked in my room, so I really don't want to sleep in it. 3. In the current emotional state I'm in, I don't want to be third-wheeling a happy couple, even though I'm sure they'd be considerate. He understood my points but said to let him know if I changed my mind, because Brooke and Alexis' friendship seems to be pretty over. This week has been pretty uneventful, but I keep having to dodge Alexis. Luckily, I'm in an undergraduate program that only has 60 students, so we have a lot of our classes together. I asked 2 friends to keep an eye out for her after giving them a spark notes of the story, and started showing up to class at the last minute. As far as I know, she only waited outside of one of my classes. I got a text saying bitch has been spotted in front of classroom. Waterworks in progress. Proceed with caution. I ended up skipping the class, because I didn't know if she was going to leave and I really didn't want to risk it. Later that night she sent me a really long Facebook message explaining everything from the beginning, and it sort of made me sick to read. I contemplating not reading it, but once I opened it I just had to. She said that he'd been flirty with her in the halls. As I mentioned before, he would say inappropriate shit to both girls and she tried to be friendly back, but it must have come off as flirting because he kissed her mid-sentence one day. She said she felt guilty that she led him on and that guilt prevented her from shooting him down in future advances because she felt like it was her fault it happened and she has trouble saying no. She said they'd only slept together 3 times and she hated it. He had pushed her into it, not rape, but it guy never said yes either, and she was going to end it during the conversation I walked in on. She said she understood if I needed some time and some space, but that she'd do absolutely anything to make it right and would spend the rest of her life making it up to me by treating me like a king. I'd never have to cook, clean or do my laundry again. Give me full access to her phone and passwords. She even suggested we install Life 360, an app that allows you to track someone's location through their phone so I would know where she is at all times. Cut off all contact with Mark and all her male friends just for good measure, I guess. Make up sex whenever I wanted. Yeah, that sounds like a healthy relationship, right? I didn't answer. I kind of wanted to keep her on Facebook and watch the shit show unfold. She was posting dramatic statuses and song lyrics about mistakes, forgiveness, and some from our song, but I know how I am, I don't want to compulsively check her page or go through old photos. So I blocked her. Derek sent me a text a few hours later saying she's crying and screaming about you blocking her, lol. In happier news, the family I'm staying with is fantastic. I felt a little guilty about taking up their space, electricity, etc., so I offered to put down rent and pay for some bills. I am unemployed, but my family gives me a decent allowance for rent and food, but they declined. The dad said first month's free. If you need more time here then we'll talk about it. And winked. My friend was telling me that they have hosted his and his sister's troubled friends, so it wasn't a big deal. Still, I'm unbelievably grateful. As for Will, awesome neighbor, I called him to thank him for everything. I wasn't up to inviting him for dinner just yet, but I will. He apologized profusely. He says he can't stand Mark, not just for what he did with Alexis but various other things that I won't go into. He told me that Mark has been unusually quiet the past few days and told another one of the guys that he had gotten dumped. Whatever. I don't want to think about it, so that's really all I have for you guys. I'm still going to be friends with Derek and Brooke, but I'm going to limit my contact with them because they remind me of Alexis so much. I sent Brooke a message thanking her for kicking Alexis out and she said she'd do it regardless of whether or not I move back in. She's going to give me a heads up on when Alexis is gone so I can get the rest of my things. In the meantime, I'm spending a lot of time studying, applying to grad schools, and hanging out with the guy I'm living with. Earlier this week I posted onto my university's Facebook group searching for roommates for next semester, and I already have a few replies. I'm going to wait until after finals to tell my parents about the situation because my mom asks a million questions about everything and I'm not in the mood to answer them. Again, thank you for all the messages. I did not expect this level of attention, and while it has made me a bit paranoid someone will recognize the story from the details, fuck it, I needed the support. I fucking love you guys. TLDR, Brooke is kicking Alexis out and Derek is still my buddy. I'm doing okay given the circumstances, and I'll hopefully be finding a new apartment next month. Final update, 45 days later. Well, I really wasn't planning on updating, but a lot of you have prodded for one and I do owe you guys after all the wonderful support I received. Once finals ended I did well given the circumstances, everything hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, almost worse than the initial insult. I removed all my social media pictures with her, threw out stuff that reminded me of her, took our songs off my playlists, yada yada. We've been inseparable since we met, so this was over 2 years of accumulated memories. Long story short, it was very hard, but I had an urge to get it all done before the new year. That whole cliché new year, new me thing. I guess. I don't know. Anyways, one particular Redditor sent me a message about how Alexis might be driven to suicide now that she's lost everything: her closest friends, her boyfriend, and her apartment. I know that seems like an overdramatic prediction, but I couldn't get it out of my mind after reading it. What Alexis did was absolutely freaking terrible, but I felt like a final conversation might give me better closure and maybe help her understand that it's completely over and get her to move on. So I planned to meet with her before everyone went home for break. A lot of you were big on the icing her out, so I'm genuinely sorry to disappoint, but I had to do this for me. I sent Alexis, if you want to talk, we can meet up somewhere. But there's no way we can be together after what happened, so please don't ask, okay? She responded almost immediately asking when and where. We arranged to meet at an off-campus coffee place. When I got there she was already at a table and got up to hug me. I waved her away and she jerked back like a puppy that had been kicked. I felt shitty immediately, but I wanted to get it over with. We made some stupid small talk. She asked how I'd been, how were finals, etc. But I sort of interrupted it. I asked her if she had been unhappy with our relationship. Her eyes got real wide and she said no. A bunch of times and got quiet. So I asked her why if she wasn't unhappy. Basically she retold the story about having trouble saying no and him being so pushy. I stopped her and asked her to cut the BS and just take responsibility. That maybe it excused her actions up until he kissed her mid-sentence, but sex 3 times? Yeah. No. She looked down, shrugged and muttered, "You're right, I know." At this point she started tearing up and said she was so sorry, that I'd never understand how sorry she was. Then she asked if there was any chance we could be together again, which I was kind of expecting even though I told her not to. I just shook my head. I told her she could still live with Derek and Brooke if she wanted to, but she declined and told me she already had plans to move in with another girlfriend of hers. From here on out the conversation went in circles with her trying to explain away her actions with her difficulty turning down guys due to her fear of being seen as a frigid bitch and me trying to get her to admit that excuse was garbage. I don't know why, I just really needed her to stop using that crutch and admit she had ruined a perfectly good relationship with a very real future all on her own. But she just wouldn't. She was always stubborn. Finally, I let it go and we parted ways somewhat amicably. As I was leaving she grabbed my hand and parted her lips to say something but ended up shaking her head and letting go. The conversation made me feel worse than I had before at first, but ultimately it really made me see that she was never the kind of person I wanted to be with even without the cheating. She never took responsibility for anything. Failed classes were because the professor was incompetent, not finding a job/internship was bad luck and not her lack of effort, etc. I just never really thought about it too hard. I think I was still in the honeymoon stage or something. I'm an idiot sometimes. So at this point I leave the coffee place and ask Derek to hang out. I ended up going to the apartment and although Brooke was there she mostly stayed in her room. We drank some beers and played some video games. It really cheered me up. We also talked a bit about everything that happened. He admitted that they hadn't been able to find a third roommate aside from complete strangers. They'd rather not move in and asked me again to stay with them. I could tell he really wanted me to and I felt guilty about them being stuck with the lease, so I accepted. I told them I needed to wait until Alexis took all her things though. The furniture is hers from before I even moved in and I still don't want to sleep in that bed. Also, Brooke apologized for getting so involved in the situation and yelling at Alexis. Apparently her stepdad had cheated on her mom and it's a sore subject for her. I told her I genuinely didn't mind and she was welcome to do it again if the mood struck her. I also bought Will some food and drinks at a great place near campus. A lot of you wanted to know the other shit Mark had done that had Will so pissed off. Apparently he had to be harassed to pay rent, claimed he couldn't contribute to any of the household expenses like dish soap, light bulbs, cleaning supplies, and regularly came in yelling and laughing at odd hours and agreeing to keep it down then carrying on at the same volume. The standard douchebag roommate crap, really. Will is a really cool guy. We talked a lot about the situation with Alexis but also about school and sports. It was actually pretty fun. I eventually did tell my folks about the situation and, as expected, my mom bombarded me with 1,000 questions and cried a lot. So that was fun. Going home made me feel a little better but my older brother got engaged on Christmas Eve and given the recent circumstances I wasn't as excited for him as I should have been, which made me feel like a shitty sibling. Plus it's all my family can talk about now and I'm just not in the mood. Life isn't perfect now, but I'm doing better. Alexis moved her shit out and I bought a second-hand bed and dresser off another student. I had my first round of classes last week and although I'm going to sound like a total nerd, the courses are really cool, hands-on and the professors are incredibly cool people. Derek and Brooke have been really supportive and don't make me feel like a third wheel at all. I saw Mark in the hallway once and he totally ignored me and I ignored him, but the urge to punch him in the face was very real. I guess that's something that will go away over time. I almost wanted to call him out on the whole thing but with the kind of person Will had described, the conversation would have gotten me nowhere and probably pissed me off more. Sorry this update isn't as exciting as the previous ones. Thank you for your love and support Reddit. It really helped me through such a bad time. TLDR, Alexis made more excuses and then moved out. I moved back in. My friends are great and I'm on the path to recovering from the whole ordeal. Stories number 2. Entitled Neighbor Demands I Move My Fence Because Her View Matters More. A couple of months ago, I bought my first house. It's nothing fancy, but it's got a small backyard, and one of the first things I did was put up a wooden privacy fence so my dog could run around without bothering anyone. Cue my next door neighbor Linda who came over the day after the fence was finished. She was holding a mug like she was about to give me friendly new neighbor vibes. Nope. She asked if I would mind moving my fence back about 6 feet. I asked her why I would do that. She told me it blocked her view from her kitchen window and she liked to look out at the trees, and that if I moved it back, I'd still have plenty of yard. I explained as politely as I could that the fence was entirely on my property line since I had the survey done, and moving it would literally give her 6 more feet of my yard for free. She said she had lived there for 15 years and had always had that view, so it was basically hers. I laughed, couldn't help it, and told her no. Since then she has accidentally thrown her leaves and branches over the fence twice, and last week I caught her trying to peek over with a step ladder. When I confronted her, she said if I weren't so selfish, she wouldn't have to do it. Comments. Commenter 1. Ask her why doesn't she just move her kitchen window to a spot where she can get her view back. Reply. LMAO honestly that's the level of logic she's working with, so it might actually make sense to her. Commenter 2. She's not looking at the trees she's busy stalking you. Reply. Yep, those trees must be real interesting since she only seems to admire them when I'm outside. Commenter 3. Get cameras and next time she peeks over, spray her face full blast with a water hose. Reply. Tempting, honestly. At this point a garden hose might be the only language she understands. Stories number 3. I accidentally sent my sister's husband to the ER after he jumped out at me as a joke while I was holding a kitchen knife. Now my family is divided and I don't know how to fix this. This happened 3 nights ago and I still feel sick to my stomach. I can't sleep, I can't eat, and I can't stop replaying it in my head. I've always been a pretty jumpy person. I survived a home invasion 5 years ago and ever since, I've had severe startle responses. My therapist and close friends know this, but I don't talk about it much with my extended family. I just try to avoid situations that could trigger me. My sister 33F is married to a guy 35M who thinks of himself as the funny one in the family. He loves pranks, jump scares, and filming reactions for social media. I've told him before that I hate being startled, but he always brushes it off with come on, it's just a joke. I've laughed it off at times just to avoid making things awkward, but inside, my heart always races and I feel this horrible icy rush through my body. 3 nights ago, my sister invited me over for dinner. She told me she'd be running late from work, but her husband would be home. I figured we'd just hang out until she got back. I offered to make dinner so it'd be ready when she arrived. I was in their kitchen, chopping vegetables, when the lights suddenly cut out. Total darkness. I froze. My chest tightened instantly. Then, from somewhere behind me, I heard fast footsteps. Before I could even turn around, something lunged out of the pantry screaming. I reacted before I could think. My hand jerked, the knife slipped, and next thing I knew, he was on the floor holding his side, screaming in pain. I dropped the knife and scrambled to turn on the light. It was him. My sister's husband. There was blood spreading across his shirt. I remember yelling his name and pressing my hands over the wound while fumbling for my phone to call 911. The paramedics said the cut was deep but missed any major organs. He needed stitches and a night in the hospital for observation. The doctors said he'd recover physically, but my sister's face when she arrived at the ER is burned into my brain, shock, then anger. She didn't even look at me when she said, "You could have killed him." Half my family says it was an accident and that he was stupid for jumping out at me while I had a knife in my hand. The other half says I overreacted, that I should have known it was just him and that this is exactly why they don't trust me around sharp things. I can't believe I'm being talked about like I'm some kind of danger when I was literally attacked in my own home years ago. Now my sister won't answer my calls, and her husband, from his hospital bed, texted me, "You ruined the joke." I don't even know how to respond to that. My therapist says it's not my fault, but I feel this crushing guilt, like I've destroyed my relationship with my sister forever. Do I owe him an apology for injuring him, even though he caused the situation? Or should I stand my ground and make it clear that his prank could have ended much worse? How do I fix this without compromising my own safety and boundaries? Comments. Commenter 1. If this is real, then your family is fucking stupid. Commenter 2. He found out. It's not your fault that he's stupid. Maybe send him a list of Darwin Award recipients. Reply. Tempting, though I doubt he'd get the hint. Commenter 3. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If people tell you they have trauma around being startled or even that they just don't like it, then you are an asshat if you decide to do that specific thing for fun. That is just getting a kick out of terrorizing somebody. Now I don't think he deserved a stabbing, so if you'd done it on purpose you'd be in the wrong too, but obviously this was just a terrible accident he caused. He's the one who can't be trusted around sharp objects. We don't let children run with scissors. Reply. This is exactly it. I've told him before that I hate being startled, and he still thought it would be funny. I wish people would understand that jokes like that can have real consequences. Commenter 4. The idea that it's your fault for reacting to what felt like a life or death situation, especially with your past experience, is just taking the piss. Sure, he got injured, but that's as a result of staging a home invasion. Brutal karma, but still karma. Reply. Exactly, thank you. That's what's been frustrating. It really did feel like I was reliving a break-in, and my body just reacted. I wish more people in my family understood that. Stories number 4. Aita for showing no sympathy for my brother and my spec's wife after the loss of their baby and for refusing to let my parents talk to me about it. I'm getting divorced from my wife, and I'll call her my wife in the post for clarity, of a decade. We have 3 kids together, 2 school-aged and 1 preschool-aged child. The last 2 years of our marriage were rough and I had no idea why. She pretended things were all good when talking to me, but complained about me to her family and friends nonstop. When I told her she could talk to me, she was saying her family and friends were just trying to stir some shit and she wouldn't say I was lazy and ignored her, which was a lot of what I was told. She said we'd get back to normal once all 3 kids were in school and we had more time for us. Then I found out she was having an affair with my brother. I found out via his ex-girlfriend who sent a photo of them kissing outside my brother's place. He broke up with her before the affair was revealed, but he said a lot of shit about her and how she was paranoid and didn't trust him, and she was proven to be right. When my wife said she was pregnant, I knew the baby was my brother's and there was zero way for me to be the father. She tried to tell everyone she didn't know, but the 3 of us knew. She knew we hadn't had sex in years. She was using the baby to try and make me more agreeable, but I told her our marriage was over and I filed for divorce. She moved in with my brother and tried to take the kids, but I stopped her because he lives 2.5 hours away and our school-aged kids were not going to be able to make a 3-hour each-way drive to school. Temporary custody was granted to me with visitation being granted to her. My parents were shocked and angry at my brother when I told them. He tried giving me shit for making them go after him and her when she was pregnant. I muted him because I didn't want to hear the BS, but I also wanted to make sure everything in the divorce and custody went smoothly, and I hope to maintain primary custody, so I'll need to show they are better off with me. My parents did end up accepting them as a couple. I said I could understand them not giving up a child and grandchild, but I don't want to hear about them. They said they respected this. A few weeks ago my wife had a stillborn baby. She and my brother blamed me for all the stress I put her under. She said being apart from our kids as much as she is was the biggest cause of her miscarriage, and she sent a lot of vile texts and I replied to none of them. He also sent a number of them which I documented with hers. My parents came over to tell me about what happened and were shocked that I knew. They asked what I had said to my brother and wife. I told them nothing. I said I wasn't going to offer any sympathy to either of them after they did the dirty on me and fucked up mine and my kids' lives. My parents tried to talk about the loss and the baby and everything surrounding it, but I shut it down and told them I was not going to be their shoulder to cry on or listening ear. I said my wish not to hear anything about my brother or wife had not changed because they lost a baby. They left my house angry and it took a couple of weeks for them to reach out again. They asked if I would be so rude to them again, and I said if they tried to talk about this then yes. They asked if I had reached out to my brother and wife and I said no. They told me they had hoped to see me at the service and I told them it wouldn't happen. They said I didn't need to become such a cold-hearted monster, and times like these is where you put away the hate. I don't agree, but I'm willing to entertain that maybe I'm wrong. Comments. Commenter 1. Definitely NTA, they did you dirty then expect you to show sympathy. Like dude, you are my brother and you are sleeping with my wife, WTF. Reply. I'm not sure if my brother and wife expected sympathy, but I was supposed to be sunshine and rainbows with them, so there was no stress and I was meant to give her what she wants because she was pregnant. My parents expecting me to be there for those two is the real crazy, because I already knew my wife and brother were entitled, but my parents are disrespecting me too with that expectation. Commenter 2. NTA. I am so sorry you and your children are going through this OP. You do not deserve this and I applaud you for being the parent that is putting their children above all of the drama. Your wife was married to you regardless of whatever troubles were going on. She decided not to confide in you and deepen that chasm, subsequently going on to having an affair. An affair is a chain of conscious, thought-out decisions. She chose to destroy your marriage irrefutably and her children's family alongside your brother. She decided to not only nuke your nuclear family but also your support system. You are not responsible for what has happened or the loss of their child together, regardless of whatever anyone else may have to say. Focus on your healing and your children's well-being, document absolutely everything and ensure that you follow legal advice, because these people don't seem the type to go away quietly. If you are able to get you all into therapy so you have a safe space to work through your emotions and the children get the help they will need during this transition and monumental change to their family dynamic. You are the wronged party here, but they will garner sympathy due to what has happened. It's always easier to point the finger than hold up a mirror, with the hope that everyone will pity their loss than hold them accountable. Remember to hold your head up high and go NC with no discussion or explanation to those who are not in your corner. People love giving an opinion, but that doesn't mean you have to hear it. Wishing you and your children all the best. X. Commenter 3. NTA. I hoped you saved those texts that your wife sent, and if they escalate, use that as evidence to go for full custody. You and your kids didn't deserve this and I hope everything works out. Reply. I have all of them saved and forwarded to my attorney for documenting. I keep all the originals too. Stories number 5. A friend of mine broke into my house, put her stuff at random places to make it look like she's been a tenant. Cops arrive, finds her stuff all over the place, and so of course they won't remove her. What do I do now? I have a friend who called me last night asking for a place to stay. I politely told her no. She's 25, I'm 19, and I should mention she's a narcissistic bitch. Today I was over at my cousin's place this morning, and when I came home a couple of hours ago I found this bitch inside my house. No signs of a break-in from the outside. I ask her how she got in and she tells me through the back window. I tell her I never gave you permission to come here and that she needs to leave immediately, and she says deal with it. I call the cops and tell them that there's a person who got inside my house without my permission and that I need an officer to come and remove her. A couple of minutes later they arrive, and here's what happens. She tells them I know my rights officers, I've been a legal tenant in this house for 2 months now and you can't just remove me. I can go around, show you my clothes in the wardrobe, my toothbrush and my conditioner in the bathroom and all of my other stuff. They take a walk with her and all of her fucking stuff is all over my house. She fucking broke into my house, put her stuff all over so that the cops would think she's been a tenant. The next thing they tell me is that I have to serve her with an eviction notice and that they can't legally remove her since she's considered a tenant. I didn't even know what to tell them as I felt so dumbfounded and shocked I was set up like this. I was silent for a few seconds and so they try to explain how the law works to me, but since I just keep looking at them in silence, not believing myself, they just proceed to leave. I'm so fucking pissed. I'm in California, so I can't even record her confessing to what she's done. If I can do that under an exception, I could easily do it because apparently she has no problem admitting to it when the cops aren't here. I'm not, however, going to do so if it will lead to more problems. I've also thought about calling 911 or the non-emergency line and telling the operator about the situation so that the call would be recorded and then make my friend confess about it. Can I do that? Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it still would be unlawful. How do I get this bitch out without having to serve her eviction notice? Isn't that against the law what she did there? Isn't this fraud? I've thought about trying to prove that she's been living somewhere else before, but I don't know what to do. This is fucked up. I'm really sorry about my language, but I'm really feeling so angry and I'm trying to be calm as much as I can while she's in my fucking house using my stuff and I can't do shit about it. Thanks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it still would be unlawful. Yes, because the person being recorded doesn't consent. How do I get this bitch out without having to serve her eviction notice? If the police won't take action, eviction is all you have. Reply. Even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here. So what now? I can go to any of my friend's house and put my stuff there and basically live for free. If I eventually get a proof she faked this, what can I do at that point? Commenter 2. Even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here, it's difficult to prove a negative. Especially given that she didn't have another place to stay. Still, if you believe you have that evidence, you can try the police again. But, if the police don't do anything, eviction is your only option. Reply. So basically anyone can go break in anywhere at a friend's house and this would work. This is ridiculous. Commenter 3. Tenants are given broad protection against being kicked out. This is a good thing. In your case, you have a situation where someone isn't a tenant but looks exactly like a tenant. That sucks, but it's an edge case. A one-off. It just doesn't happen that often. So yeah, in the extremely rare circumstance that someone breaks into your home with no damage and scatters enough stuff around to look like a tenant, you get a little boned. It sucks, but the worst thing you can do is compound it by trying to kick her out without the eviction. Commenter 4. I am going to go in a completely different direction, and suggest you get a protection order. This woman is dangerous, and completely out of touch with reality. If I were you, I would be very, very scared. Go down to the court and fill out an order for temporary protection. The form will ask you if you two live in the same home. Say no. Put in her last known address. You should get her order to stay away from you, and she will not be able to enter the apartment, as it will be breaking the order. If you need to call the police, you can call and tell them you have an order of protection against this person and they will make her leave. You do not want a residence exclusion order which requires actual violence. You want a stay away order. Update. I texted one of her friends on Instagram who I know is close to and explained what happened. She gave me her boyfriend's name on Facebook and told me to talk him, see if he could come over and persuade her to leave. I've reached him and we got on the phone a few minutes ago. He said can come over after work and see what he can do. Is there anything I should do before he comes here? Do I start recording video? Do I call the cops instead? Do I bring in a third witness? I'm really afraid if this ever turns into a domestic violence of some sort, if any of them decides to do anything stupid. Keep in mind I'm 19 and both of them are well over my age by a lot. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's time to call in a friend. A close one. I would propose your mom actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence desalting effect on unknown quantities. The point is someone calm. Very calm. You don't need another voice here, you need a witness. If all goes well, I would suggest you lock the door behind her and this time lock your window. The problem with that, of course, is the cops have already decided she lives there. So if she calls them claiming you locked her out, you're SOL. In these circumstances it might be worth the risk. Can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pics of her place. Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you. Like get can I come over? From a few days ago would be great. Once you're done with her, don't ever talk to her again. That's it. This is a new level of crazy and it's going to burn everything it touches. Reply. It's time to call in a friend. A close one. I would propose your mom actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence desalting effect on unknown quantities. The point is someone calm. Very calm. You don't need another voice here, you need a witness. I didn't tell my mom about any of this yet because she worries a lot about me and she already has a lot of issues going on, so I didn't want to put any more pressure on her. I think I have to call her now though. I know for sure she'll have my back on this. Can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pics of her place. Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you. When I looked up her Instagram account, I found lots of pictures in Arizona that she was dumb enough to have them tagged with location. The pictures were taken within the past month. I took screenshots as well as archiving them like a web version. I also wrote down a transcript of how the conversation went down when she called me asking to stay at my place and I refused. I've screenshotted the conversation with her friend as well. Commenter 2: Why didn't you follow the advice in the previous post and pursue a restraining order? Reply: I should have done this but I didn't. Someone mentioned that I should try and contact one of her friends or family and let them try and talk to her, and so that's what I did. I'm hoping it works. If not, I'll go file the restraining order. Final update. First of all, I want to explain what happened, apologize, and thank all of you. As soon as her boyfriend came in, she started crying hysterically. I told them that I'm video recording them through my phone, but they seemed uninterested in what I said. She started blaming him for all sorts of stuff. He kept apologizing a lot, and after what seemed like an eternity, she packed her stuff and they were both gone. Now, I've written down on a piece of paper all your different advice. I'll file a restraining order against her. I'll also go file a police report and talk to the sheriff explaining everything that happened. I've documented all I could. I have screenshots of her IG account with the pictures tagged to AZ. Plus the video of her and her boyfriend arguing in my house and then packing and leaving together. My mom's main concern right now is getting the protective order ASAP and installing an alarm system in my house. She said she'll be staying with me until we can get a company to install an alarm system on Monday. Thank you guys for suggesting to call my mom. It made me feel safer while she was here. Apology. I know how annoying it was for you guys to keep giving me advice that I should file the restraining order and go to the police only to find me not do any of them but invite a stranger to my house. My mom also pointed out how badly this could have gone with her boyfriend coming here. Commenter: I've been thinking about this since I read it. Honestly, I hope it's fake. If the cops showed up and this lunatic told them she was a tenant, why would OP not say something like, fine, prove to them you live here. Where's your lease? Where are your keys? Where do you sleep? Show them your license with this address. Show them a piece of your mail addressed here. I wish you were there with me, man, and pointed those things out. It just took me off guard. I just stood there saying nothing. Anyway, I'm so lucky it didn't go worse. I'm just really relieved this whole thing is off my chest now. I'm truly thankful for each one of you. TLDR, she's gone. Stories number 6. Aita for getting an expensive car even though I knew my long-term girlfriend would be upset about it. I am 27 and my girlfriend Georgia is 25 and she works as a pharmacy associate. We have been together for 2.5 years and I do see a future with her. I work in healthcare and have been scrimping and saving through most of my 20s. I didn't have much of a college experience and have just stacked money for my future. Recently I got fed up with my Hyundai and decided that it's finally time to trade it in for something nice and comfortable for myself. I told my girlfriend about my plan and she asked me what cars I was looking at, and she vehemently disagreed. I found it surprising, but I said that I wanted to get the car anyway. This was a point of contention for a while, so I found myself holding off on biting the bullet on purchasing a car. This has been the first real fight in our relationship. I would bring it up and she would either shut it down, or would give me some reason I don't find particularly convincing. It's too expensive. Well, I can afford it, I have a lot of money saved. Eventually I was getting frustrated and I vented with my friend, and he said she's joining onto your life, she can either hop on or not, you don't need her permission. I figured that was a valid point. I told Georgia that I was getting a car. She said do what you want, and that was that. I got a 2022 Audi A6 45 Premium Plus a couple of days ago. I test drove it and it rode so smooth. It had black leather seats, white exterior, low miles, clean Carfax, and 20-inch V rims. I was so happy. I got it for $39,000 out the door, put $15,000 down, traded in my Hyundai, and financed the rest through my credit union. I drove home grinning ear to ear. I called my girlfriend later that day and invited her to my apartment. I cooked her salmon and mashed potatoes and cracked open a store-bought cheesecake. Eventually I took her outside and showed her the car. I figured once she saw how nice of a purchase I made, maybe she wouldn't be so mad. After all, could you be mad as a passenger princess in German luxury? It was a vain hope. She was upset. She said, "You actually did it?" I said yeah, I said I was going to. We started bickering. She asked how much it cost. I told her. She said that's more than I make in a year. I said yeah, but I can afford it. We went back and forth but the argument devolved. Eventually I said, if you can't be happy for me, you can just go ahead and go home. She started tearing up and apologized. I apologized for snapping. We had a quiet night in after that. Today, I spoke with my girlfriend and she said that she wanted an apology from me for disregarding her feelings regarding me purchasing an expensive vehicle. I told her no apology was coming for that, I was happy with my purchase, she can either get over it or not, but how she felt about was not my problem to solve. She said that was really mean, and I said it was really mean she was trying to control my purchases as a grown man. Aita, top comment, NTA, evidently, y'all don't even live together. Not her call. No apology is necessary on your part. Just watch out if she continues to harp about it. Shut it down immediately. You might want to reconsider the relationship. You're young and saved for this beautiful car and had every right to purchase it. Reply to top comment. Best thing to do is treat the car right. Do the required maintenance and will run for a long time. Personally, I've always bought the low-end Honda Civic, ran it for 125,000 miles before I had to sell it moving overseas. New owner took it for a test drive and asked if I wanted more money because it was in pristine shape. Gave him a friends and family discount. Ultimately, it seems you and the GF are not on the same page financially. It's difficult to see this relationship working long-term. Reply from OOP. It's a German car, so it's even more important to be on top of maintenance. I'm going to treat her like a princess. The car, that is. The girlfriend? TBDRN, she's upset at me. Another comment. Do what you want equals I do not want you to do this thing. I have said my opinion, but you should know I really disagree with you. With that said, you are not engaged nor are you married to her. Your money is yours to spend and save. I would hope that you still have a 401k, IRA, 6-month emergency fund, vacation fund, etc. If you have all of those life markers to save for your future, then enjoy the car. If you have nothing to your name, then this was a silly decision. What your girlfriend likely wants is an engagement ring. So she sees this purchase as an obstacle to her getting that from you. It's been 2 years, if you are going to marry her, this is enough time to make that decision. If not, let her go. It is already clear that you are not financially compatible. Reply. I have IDEC editor's note, I don't even know how much save in my retirement but a pretty penny. I've been on a 10% withdrawal for last 4 years plus 5% employer match. I work as a nurse and have been living with my parents for most of that time until I moved into my apartment a year ago. I've been saving from the moment I've been working. Pretty much everything I've earned has been saved. I don't have any debt besides the car right now. As far as engagement, I'd be open to doing that for her, but she's the one who's been hesitant because she hasn't quite locked down a career path yet. She's deciding between grad school and pharmacy school. I told I'd be fine waiting. We've talked about future plans, but we're in a holding pattern with her schooling. Update AITA for getting an expensive car even though I knew my long-term girlfriend would be upset about it. Well, I got to the root of the issue with my girlfriend after we spoke yesterday. First things first, to clear up a few commonly mentioned things in the comments. My girlfriend wasn't expecting a ring, she didn't want one while she was deciding whether to go to grad school or pharmacy school. I can afford the car. I work as nurse making over 70k and have a lot of savings. I've worked as a nurse for 4 years. I lived with my parents for the 3 of those years and didn't spend much at all. The used Audi A6 I purchased is the biggest purchase I've ever made and I wanted to finance half of it in case I want a mortgage in the future. Things have gotten better between the two of us since the exchange at the end of our last post. I did take her out to get some ice cream and also surprised her by taking her to getting nails done as well. She asked if I was trying to bribe her out of being mad, and I said no, just trying to be kind, even though I had planned these weekend activities ahead of time and was still fairly mad at her. Normally after a date out, we would wrap things up at my place, but I didn't have the bandwidth and wanted some space. I dropped her back off at her parents' house and asked if she could come by my place tomorrow so we could just quash this issue looming over our relationship. She said okay. I ran errands yesterday and prepared for my girlfriend to come by. Around 6 she came by after her shift. I sat her down at the table with a pizza and basically just asked that we keep it civil and try not to get too emotional. I asked her why the car was too expensive. She said that it just was. It's excessive and wasteful. I said that I agree. That caught her off guard. I told her that I saved a lot of money and basically spent very little on myself, so just once I wanted to be excessive on myself. She asked if it's a one-off thing. I said probably. I intend to treat the car very well. I asked why her reaction was so strong to the car. This is where she kinda shut down a little. I prodded her a little. She said that she decided she wanted to go to pharmacy school. She was going to tell me soon, and while she was making this big adult decision in her eyes, here I was blowing a bunch of money on a luxury car. I congratulated her on making up her mind on a career. I didn't particularly agree with characterization, but I could see how she could see it that way. I asked which schools she was applying to and she mentioned a few public universities in our state. I asked how she was planning on paying and she said she had no other options other than loans. She was also hoping I would be willing to help out or chip in. I told her that I loved her, but that she took out her anxieties of being able to pay for her pharmacy degree on me instead of being happy for me. She apologized for that and said she didn't realize that getting a nice car meant a lot to me. She started crying and I held her for a bit. We spoke for a long time after that. In sum though, things are uncertain. I feel like I saw a really bad side of her before we took some really big steps together. Her lack of communication and feeling of control over my purchase concerned me, and I don't think it would be a good idea for me to marry her. I say marry her because there is no way I would support someone through a pharmacy degree without some sort of legal reassurance. Things left on a bittersweet note but an I love you nonetheless. I dropped her off back her parents' house. Right now I'm 90% leaning towards ending this relationship because I just don't see us heading the same direction anymore. I probably won't update or respond to comments for a while. I have 2 back-to-back shifts starting tomorrow and I'm going to hit the hay after this posts. Top comment. She wanted you to spend your money on her degree rather than on yourself. Stories number 7. My husband died and I'm pregnant. We were married for 11 years. July 25th should have been our anniversary. Instead, on July 20th, he left this world while I carry our first child. It was his dream to have a baby, not mine. We were enough for each other, happy in the small world we built, no children, no need for more. But when cancer came, and chemo began, he longed for a child. A piece of himself to remain if he couldn't stay. So we did IVF. I did it for him to give him hope, to give him something to hold on to. Now I am here, 7 months pregnant, alone in a silence that feels endless. I have never driven a car, he took me everywhere. I have never worked a day, he was a freelancer, and we spent all our days together. I never worried about money, or life, or losing him. I used to wake to his face every morning, now I wake to emptiness. I tell myself I must live for our baby, but it was his wish, not mine. Each day is harder, not easier. He told me if something happens to me, at least you'll have something from me. You won't be alone, but I am alone, I can't live without him. When he was dying I was in the other room calling the nurse. I didn't think he would go. I thought, he's sick, yes, but he won't leave me, and then he was gone. He didn't say goodbye or gave me my usual kiss. How will I raise our daughter without the best father she could have had, without the best man I ever knew? I can't give her the love he would have given, and that thought tears me apart. In his last week, I became distant, not because I didn't love him but because I was desperate to keep him alive. I was feeding him protein, measuring his medicines, fighting for his body, while all he wanted was my presence by his side. He was like, stay, don't go. When I need to go buy him food or medicine, make someone else go, but I couldn't trust anyone to make the best decision for him except me. I will never forgive myself for that. I wish to follow him. Living without him is killing me, and it's getting worse. How can I do it? Comments. Commenter 1. If you're in the USA, when your baby is born, apply for Social Security survivors benefits for your baby. Commenter 2. I'm sorry for your loss. By the way, she is only eligible for survivor benefits if her husband worked and paid Social Security taxes during his lifetime. Commenter 3. It sounds like you two shared a good life together, and you will see him every day in your daughter. You will share him with her in ways that will help her feel his presence too. I know you are broken now, but I hope with all of my being that you bond quickly with your baby and that the two of you will have a wonderful life together. And that although you will be sad, she will bring light back into your heart. Wrapping you in a big warm hug. Up. Stories number 8. Aita for refusing to take care of my sick MIL after she told my husband to divorce me while I was in the hospital. I 32F have been married to my husband 35M for 7 years. We have 2 kids, 5M and 3F. Last year, I had a complicated pregnancy with my daughter that landed me in the hospital for over a month. While I was admitted, my MIL-68F decided to help out at our house. I thought it was a kind gesture, until I found out what she was actually doing. Apparently, she told my husband multiple times that he deserves better and that I was too fragile to be a good wife and mother. She even went as far as telling him he should cut his losses and start fresh with someone healthier. My husband told me this months later, claiming he didn't take her seriously. Fast forward to now, my MIL was recently diagnosed with a chronic illness and needs someone to take care of her for the next few months while she recovers from surgery. My husband asked if she could move in with us so I could help care for her during the day, since I work from home. I flat out said no. I told him that the woman who tried to convince him to leave me while I was fighting for my life is not welcome in my home, let alone under my care. He says I'm being cruel and holding a grudge and that family helps family, no matter what. Now his siblings are messaging me, calling me heartless, saying that she's old, she's sick, and she's sorry. But here's the thing, she's never actually apologized to me. The only time she's brought it up was to say, I was just worried about my son's future. My husband is barely speaking to me, and I'm starting to wonder if I am being too cold. Aita for refusing to take care of her. Comments. Commenter 1. Hell no, have her other family take care of her. Working from home is not a reason to pick you. Maybe Hubs can move in with mom and take care of her needs. Even if she didn't try and ruin your marriage, you shouldn't sign up for that. Reply. Exactly. Just because I work from home doesn't mean my office is a full-time care facility. And honestly, if my husband's best solution is to move in with her, that says a lot about where his priorities really are in this marriage. Commenter 2. Why aren't your husband's siblings stepping up to caregiver? NTA. Reply. Exactly. That's what I've been asking. He's got 2 siblings who live within 30 minutes and have way more flexibility than I do, but somehow it's easier for me because I work from home. I guess being physically in my house all day equals free caretaker in their eyes. Commenter 3. Why aren't your husband and his siblings stepping up to care for their mother? Or paying for professional care? No way should this fall on you. If you had a good relationship with her and you offered, that would be one thing. But she has advocated for your husband to leave you, never apologized, and then you were voluntold you are the only option? While working from home and caring for 2 children, hell no. Nope sandwich with a side of nope sauce. NTA. Reply. Exactly. That's what I keep coming back to, she has other adult children who live closer and don't have 2 kids and a full-time job to juggle. I've been polite and cordial, but I'm not signing up to be the full-time caregiver for someone who's never respected me. The "you're the only option" line is just not true, they're just making it my problem because it's convenient. Reply. Commenter 3. Stand strong. It is not your problem to solve, it is theirs. You are not the only option because you are not an option. Period. But since your husband is not speaking to you over this emotional blackmail and/or immaturity, expect him and his sibs to get worse. At some point, you may need to ask him and yourself if this is worth ending your marriage over, because if he doesn't stop pressuring you while ignoring your needs, it may be hard for you to keep seeing the good in him. Stories number 9. AIO. Girlfriend threw away the dinner I cooked because she wanted pizza instead. Girlfriend texted me earlier. I'm too tired and frustrated to even respond. I was trying to do something nice for her and surprise her with something she said she really liked, but apparently she wasn't in the mood for it. I feel pretty much tired of trying in general. I guess I didn't really ask her what she wanted tonight for dinner, but I still feel pretty angry. Text messages between OOP and GF. OOP is in the gray bubbles on the right, GF is in the black bubbles on the left. GF, hey, when is your break? Can you pick up a pizza so I have something to eat tonight? Me, no babe, I made the wine braised short ribs you said last night were your favorite. I got up early to cook them. You just have to pull them from the pot. There's that and the small s'mores cakes I made for Wednesday since there's extra and I figured you'd want some. GF, I don't really want that though. Can you just grab a pizza on your break? We can eat that stuff later. Me, no, I'm locked in for the night. What's wrong with the short ribs? You literally just told me it was your favorite thing, so I made it special for you. Kind of sucks. GF, well, I tried it and it came out kind of gross anyway, so I'm tossing it. Can you ask to leave for a bit and stop by a Papa John's or something? I just want stuffed crust. Me, what do you mean gross? You tossed it? As in like threw it away? GF, it's just tasted bad. I don't know what to tell you, it wasn't eatable. It's not a big deal, I just need to eat something tonight for dinner though. Did you ask? Me, dude, WTF, that was expensive meat. Why would you throw it away? I already told you I'm not leaving work. GF, well I don't know what you expect me to do. It's simple as fuck. Just order a pizza then if you're busy. GF, like I have to eat something. GF, hello. Places are closing soon. Me, I'm busy at work. I don't want to talk about it right now. Please figure it out, we'll talk later. Unread. GF, seriously you're gonna be this much of an asshole over this? GF, I didn't ask you to cook anything. GF, if you can't deal with the basics of being a supportive partner then it should be something I consider and find someone who will support me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you really shouldn't be dating a teenager. I can't comprehend this person being an adult. Sarcasm aside, get the hell out of this relationship. You want to spend the next 40 years or whatever with someone who throws homemade meals in the garbage, demands pizza from a chain restaurant, and is seemingly incapable of ordering delivery herself. And is rude as fuck to you, dude. There are so many red flags in this exchange that you could open up an Etsy store selling used red flags and become a multimillionaire. Additional information from OOP on his response to the top comment. Reply, not sure why I can't edit to add more information on mobile but I'm borrowing the top comment to answer some questions. She lost her card last week while hanging out with some friends and had to cancel her accounts. She's using mine until her new one comes in the mail. I have not gotten to eat any of the prepared food. Cooking is my love language. I think I mostly just feel heartbroken at this point and that's why I've decided to just finish work tonight and talk to her in the morning about it. Edit, just a quick follow-up. My shift just ended. I'm going to probably go home and pack some stuff and stay with a friend. She won't be up for a bit and I don't really feel like sleeping in the same house. We'll update after I talk to her later though. Commenter 2, she is being very disrespectful of you especially if you spent time especially cooking food for her. She wasn't at all appreciative of even the thought of it, which is a red flag. The comments in the last image were especially disrespectful, and the comment about finding someone else warrants considering leaving the relationship. You don't make statements like that to your partner if you care about them, especially if it's over not getting food. Commenter 3, toss the girlfriend. Look at that last message she sent you. Her goal was to make you feel like shit, paired with a threat to break up if you don't jump to obey her every whim. She's just going to repeat and escalate that behavior every time you two disagree or you try to hold her accountable. She doesn't respect you at all. Commenter 4, doesn't show appreciation for you getting up early to make her something that she likes. Throws away something you could have eaten just because she didn't care for it. Apparently incapable of solving her own problems. Threatens you if you don't solve her problems for her. Swears at you in your exchange. Thinks a supportive partner is someone who caters to her wants, not even her needs, and expects you to do so even when you are at work. I could go on, but do I need to? P.S. I'm a woman and I am telling you to run. This ungrateful, emotionally immature person needs a reality check. You deserve better. Update. After spending the morning at a friend's house I went ahead and just went back to our apartment. I haven't really slept honestly with how anxious I've been to just go and get the conversation so I'm exhausted. Basically I went back to the apartment. She was there scrolling on her phone. I went ahead and just came out with it and explained to her that I can't keep trying to make things work with someone who doesn't care about what I do for them. She started to cry and tell me it's just the way her brain works and it's not her fault. She says she's trying in her therapy and that she feels like she doesn't deserve to be loved. I more or less followed up and explained to her I can't be the one to keep dealing with her when she treats me like garbage. She basically got angry as hell at this point and told me I never cared and I never really tried or I wouldn't just leave over something so stupid. She broke a glass I kept from growing up that was sitting on our counter by throwing it on the ground, at which point I just stopped talking. I spent an hour with her yelling and begging me back and forth while I grabbed things I have that are valuable. I'm just going to disappear for a bit at my friend's. I need to figure out what to do about the rent and stuff since we have a month until renewal. I know it's not really all that crazy of an update and it's just the way it should have played out, but I wanted to just get in and out and be done after thinking about it and being ready to move on from being unhappy. I appreciate everyone's comments and to the people who reached out. I'll be honest, I feel like I've wasted a ton of my life trying to help a broken person and it's just equal parts depressing while also a feeling of being empty and tired. I'm going to try my best to make things better in my life and only give people who appreciate me and the stuff that I do. Top comments. Commenter 1, honestly, I'm incredibly proud of you for this. You deserve someone who loves you as much as you love them. Get yourself a fun drink, watch a movie with your friend that you're staying with, and just know your life will be better without that awful ex in your life. This is not an excuse at all for her, but the way she reacted genuinely makes me feel like she has some personality disorder. It just screams borderline personality disorder. This reminds me so much of someone I dated years ago who had this. I genuinely loved him, but leaving him was the best thing I could have done for myself. Not everyone who has this disorder is toxic, but it just sends me back to the days where when he felt rejected or abandoned by me he would mock me over everything that he knew would hurt me most emotionally. Commenter 2, pay the rent and then tell the landlord you're not renewing, and to talk to her about her own situation because you moved out. This way there's no harm to your credit or any kind of BS to put up with. The minute she threw something I would have been out. Grabbed my shit of value and just left. Start untangling any finances that are joint and leave. You deserve better. I suffer with feelings of not being deserving of love and support due to childhood trauma, and I would never treat my wife like this and expect everything to be okay. Commenter 3, classic. She used her therapy as a weapon against you, trying to garner empathy and forgiveness, and when that doesn't play out she once again lashes out, proving it was all an act, and she is in fact not sorry for her behavior and isn't learning jack shit in therapy. All manipulation. Good for you OP, things will get better. Sorry your valuable got destroyed in the process, it served its purpose by demonstrating how little consideration she has for you. Goat Glass, RIP. You've stayed true to yourself and trying to care for other people even when it fell short, be proud of that, and keep doing it, and you'll find someone who appreciates and reciprocate. Commenter 4, it's just how my brain works. Yeah okay. She thought that by tossing perfectly good food she could strong-arm you into ordering her a pizza. She's not sorry she did it, she's sorry her little plan didn't work. Sorry for what you went through, man. Stories number 10. Aita, my roommate, says I can't move out until after her wedding. I 34F have been living in hotels and with an ex-partner for the last 4 months because my apartment tested positive for mold, which I'm highly reactive/allergic to. At the same time, my 5-year-old dog suddenly became severely ill. Her x-rays showed alarming inflammation in her lungs and overnight she was struggling to breathe. I packed a suitcase and left immediately thinking the mold was affecting her also. My plan was to find another place to stay while our landlord remediated the house. Devastatingly, only 2.5 weeks later my dog passed away. Her passing was extremely traumatic for me, but I will omit those details. I was in a very, very dark place. Not only did I lose my best friend and was living out of a suitcase, I also found out some unfortunate news regarding my own health, all the while being unemployed and living on savings and some generous help from my ex-partner. The night my girl passed away, my ex insisted I move into the extra bedroom of his apartment so I wouldn't grieve alone. He assured me that I could stay for as long as I needed to get back on my feet as well my house to be safe again. We get along super well, and I'm so grateful for his help. The whole time I've been here, both of my roommates have been constantly asking when I was coming back. Mind you, I've been paying my $2,200 rent plus utilities this whole time. I live in SF, LOL. My answer has always been the same, I'm not coming back until the house is remediated. Unfortunately something was delaying the process of it all. Last week, I finally decided that I no longer wanted to pay rent for a place that I wasn't living in, especially because I was still unemployed. I knew the timing of my notice was less than ideal because my roommate Kate 46F, who is the master tenant and responsible for finding a replacement tenant, is in the throes of planning her wedding, amongst other things like talking to a surrogacy agency and immigration for her fiancé, and I feel awful. I knew that she wasn't going to take the news well, but her reaction was far more unexpected than I thought. When I told her I was moving out 7-week notice, she said that the timing didn't work for her and that I was being unkind. She threatened to keep my deposit if I didn't push my move-out date by another month. When I told her that was illegal, she started to freak out and told me that our friendship would be over. I was in shock. She said you knew about the wedding for months, but I honestly didn't have the mental clarity to make that big of a decision until very recently. I told her as soon as I knew. I can't help but feel horrible and guilty, but all my friends are telling me 7 weeks is more than fair and she is the one being a bad friend. I just have no idea because they are obviously biased. I'm just so tired of being a people pleaser and I would essentially lose over $2,000 to make it convenient for her. Aita, if I don't push my move-out date by another month. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, but I don't understand why on earth you are all paying rent to the landlord if it's tested positive for mold. You should all be renting an Airbnb together or something and not paying for an unlivable house. Reply. I know mold affects people in different ways and unfortunately I'm just super sensitive to it. My other roommates aren't affected at all, which is why a bigger action wasn't taken. I was just glad to get out of there. The grief really prevented me from thinking about the situation clearly, but it's all hindsight. Reply. Commenter 1. Have any of you spoken to the landlord? That could solve both of your problems. They should be giving you a month of free rent or reimbursement for the months you couldn't stay there. It doesn't matter if it didn't affect them as badly as you. It's still a health hazard that they are required by law to fix. Commenter 3, NTA. Also speak with an attorney regarding the removal of all the mold in the home. If you can't live in the house because of the mold, you may be able to get all your money back. Or not be responsible for the current rent. The mold is a landlord issue, and if it's bad, no one should be living there. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my parents it's time they accept my identical twin sisters will never be close and to stop expecting me to be a magic fix-it. I 32F have 36-year-old identical twin sisters. I'm close with each of them individually, but they do not like each other and they do not speak today. They were never close, and this has not changed with growing up. Until they were 12 they were a little more willing to be around each other, it was just never their preference. But as they have grown they have become far more hostile to each other, and once they left for college they went no contact. The only time they have seen each other since was at my wedding, and they did not speak one word to each other. My parents always had an extra hard time with this because my sisters are identical twins, and in their world it means they had to get along. They cannot figure out why they would be so opposed to each other, and they said the fact both are close to me is another shock because identical twins are typically the closest of siblings and other siblings would feel left out. But that was never the case with us. My parents have tried numerous times to bring them together, and when my sisters started having kids with their husbands my parents took it upon themselves to try and set up times for us all to be together as a family so their kids would know each other. But my sisters said no. They told our parents they would pull away if they didn't let it go. My parents wanted me to do something. They said I'm the person who could bring them together, and I shut it down hard. But they never gave up on the idea that I would magically bring them together. A few times I even said they see me as a magic fix-it and not a sister who can't control other adults who are actually older than her. A few weeks ago my parents pushed one sister so far she won't talk to them now, so I took the time to say to my parents that they need to find a way to accept it and let go of this need to make them close. I said my sisters will never be close, it needs to be accepted because they lost one daughter over it already. And then I said they should stop expecting me to be the magical fix-it for them. I said I cannot control what two grown women do, and at no point have I been the unifying factor for them. My parents said I won't understand if my kids never hate each other like they do. But everyone wants their kids to be close, and especially their twins. Comments. Commenter 1. Perhaps your parents' need for them to be identical their whole lives is what pushed them to hate each other. Commenter 2. Maybe, but more important they may not have been allowed to each be an individual. One can't go somewhere unless the other goes, same with friends. This isn't just a twin problem, it can be any sibling's problem. Completely caused by the parents. Commenter 3. NTA your parents need to stop. Your parents may even be the reason your sisters hate each other. Did they dress them alike when they were children? Being an identical twin does not make you identical mentally. Stories number 12. AIO, girlfriend went on a trip with her friends and came back acting totally different. So I 25M have been with my girlfriend 22F for about a couple years. We've been living together for a few months, and things have mostly been really good. Like yeah, little arguments here and there, but nothing major. Last weekend she went on a trip with her college friends to this lake house/cabin one of their families owns. It was just the girls, kind of a last summer thing before a couple of them move out of state. I was totally fine with it, told her to go have fun, no issues there. But when she got back, something felt off immediately. Like she walked in, barely looked at me, gave me a quick hug, and then went straight to the bedroom to unpack. She didn't even really say she missed me or anything. We usually text a bunch when we're apart, but she was kinda distant the whole trip too, like shorter responses and slower replies. Since she's been back, she's been weirdly quiet. Not mad, just distant. She's been zoning out, not really laughing at stuff like she usually does, and just kinda flat when we talk. I asked her how the trip was and she literally said it was alright and then changed the topic. No stories, no funny moments, no pics, nothing. Which is super unlike her. She normally comes back from any outing with like 10 stories and a ton of photos. The other thing is she's been journaling a lot since she came back. Which again, not bad, just new. She's always kinda been into mindfulness and stuff. I asked if everything was okay and she just said she's tired and processing a lot, whatever that means. I tried pressing gently and she told me I was being overly clingy and that she just needs a bit of space. I've never been called clingy before, so that kinda stung. I've tried asking her friends if something happened, but they kind of brush it off and tell me not to worry. So now I'm just sitting here like, What happened on that trip that made her come back a totally different person? She's not mad at me, I think. But it honestly feels like she left as one version of herself and came back as another. And she won't let me in at all. I'm trying not to make a big deal out of it, but I feel like I'm being iced out and I have no clue why. Am I overreacting for feeling really weird and kinda hurt by this? Should I just give her space and stop asking questions? Ick. This just sucks. Comments. Commenter 1. Nor. I agree with giving her space to a certain degree, but me personally is so came back acting so distant and zoned out I would be concerned about something traumatic, but that's also because I know my so and she shuts down when something has upset her. I'd give her a couple more days then come to her and be like, hey, so I'm worried about you. I'm not upset, but I do want to do a mental check-in. You've been kinda distant and zoning out. Is something bothering you or on your mind? I'm here for you and I care. I wouldn't even mention since you got back from your trip, I'd leave that part open. She will either A, appreciate your care and give you some insight, or B, blow up, to which will be where you will have to just walk away and decide where you want to go from there. Either one of two things happened in my mind. 1, her and her friends got into it, or someone hurt her, or 2, she cheated or did something she shouldn't have. Either way, please update us. Reply, thank you. Means a lot. I will update, sooner or later, but I'm giving her space now. Commenter 2. Nor. You know her and her how she is best, trust your gut. What does your gut say? It's not good that she called you overly clingy when you pressed her. Clearly something is off and that seems like a deflection. I was just talking to someone who came back from a trip. Friends acting different. They didn't have the enthusiasm or interest level from before. Quite frankly, I didn't see what happened on her trip or what changed. It was clear that she just wasn't as interested and I just stopped talking to her. We weren't exclusive though, so it was much easier to end. I'd say give her some space, just observe her actions/behavior for a bit. See if there is more that is off or strange. If this continues for a few more days, she is going to have a conversation about it. If she is unwilling to communicate, then obviously she's checked out. Question: how has your sex life been in recent weeks/months? Usually, if that changes, slows or whatever, not a great sign. Reply: yeah, I'm hoping she's willing to open up after some time. Our sex life has been great, honestly. Well, as of recently, that is, of course. She's more reserved now anyways, so that's a given, but we haven't had any complications in the past. We've both wanted it. And enjoyed it. Commenter 3. Are her friends single? Reply: honestly, I'm not sure. She has mentioned someone's boyfriend, which might be one of the girls from the group. Commenter 4. Trust your instincts. No one asks for space from a partner if everything is fine. Her calling you clingy is her telling you nicely to bug off. Something happened which caused her to go into a funk. Unlikely IMO. If she's talking to all her friends, but she's being distant with you specifically, that's not normal. She cheated. Maybe she feels guilty, but at the same time she's not sorry. Maybe she's second-guessing her relationship with you. Reply: ick. I'm not ready to bring up the topic of if she cheated or not. She's always made it clear she values us and our relationship. I trust my instincts, but I also need to step back maybe a bit. THX for you response. Update. TLDR, girlfriend came back from a girl's trip acting cold and distant. After shutting down and leaving me out, she admitted something happened during a drinking game that went way past acceptable boundaries. She was vague, said she wasn't herself, and claimed not to remember everything due to being drunk. The game involved dares that escalated kissing, pouring drinks into mouths, etc., and while she didn't give full details, she acts guilty. One friend, Ellie, didn't participate and left the cabin when things escalated. I reached out to her friend for clarity, who revealed that more people joined the trip than initially was planned, but offered no further help. I feel hurt, betrayed, and unsure how to move forward, especially since my GF hid everything and is still withholding details. I'm overwhelmed, processing everything, and taking space to figure out what to do next. Full update. So yeah. First off, thanks to everyone who commented or messaged me. It always helps even a little bit to talk about this. I read everything even if I couldn't reply back to everyone. Some of it helped, some of it TBH just made me feel worse. Still, thanks. Anyway, getting to the update. It wasn't really a planned discussion or anything, just kind of happened. I had earlier asked one of her friends if something was going on. She again just didn't really open up but told me it wouldn't be her place or job to say. I thought I wouldn't get anything out of her, so I just said fuck it and that I'd try and talk to my GF later. She came home from work and was just acting off again. The usual. Barely said anything, didn't eat the dinner I had prepared earlier, almost immediately went for a long walk outside, afterwards went straight to the shower and spent a long time there. Later she kind of just stayed in our bedroom laying about and not really engaging with me. I haven't seen her writing in her journal today and honestly I don't think much of it. I went in after a while just to ask her about her day, gently. I wasn't pressing or nagging about it, just calmly asked if she could please just talk to me and that I care about her and how she feels. Told her I wasn't trying to fight or blame her or anything, I just wanted to understand what's going on, and since we always share everything that it's unfair to keep me in the dark, and that I'd support her either way whatever it was. She didn't say much, just kept mumbling about not knowing what to say, wasn't really feeling it, she was tired, etc. So I stepped back, spent some time on my own and went for a walk. Eventually later today she started opening up a little. I guess she had enough time to reflect and gather her thoughts. I'm not gonna put every single word she said here in quotations cause it feels kinda personal and also I'm still trying to process it myself. But basically, yeah, something happened on the trip. With her and the girls. She didn't say word to word what she did, in detail, but made it really clear that it went way past what would be okay in a relationship. Like, way past. There was plans of drinking during the trip. I know my girl drinks and I do too, it has never been a problem. I was expecting it, I think it's normal and I encourage her always to have fun if she wants to, since I trust her. She's been to raves, parties, etc., and I have never seen a problem with that. It's not my right to limit her hobbies, even if I don't always match her energy. Mind you, she has never been a heavy drinker, at least not around me, and we've never had to talk about her alcohol usage. She has been a well-behaving adult for all our relationship, and if she has been drunk it has always stayed well in the limits of good taste. She said what happened wasn't planned and that it just kind of did and that she wasn't herself, which honestly just made me feel a knot in my stomach, like she was preparing me for something really really bad. So I encouraged her to just say it, that she has already said enough for me to not back down now. I deserve to know about this. She said the trip honestly went well regarding to original plan, they drank, went to the sauna by the lake, swam, played games, hung around normal. Doesn't sound awful, right? Sounds like a normal weekend trip to me with friends. So later that night they had been drinking more, partying, listening to music, enjoying themselves. Some of them were drinking and hanging out in the hot tub and some of them had hung around inside the cabin playing a board game and talking. My GF kind of talks in circles about this and tries proving during our talk how it was in the end a good trip and that they all enjoyed it. Eventually though she gets to the point and tells me why she's been down. Later in the evening someone had suggested they do a drinking game. Honestly don't see an issue with that since I like partying and games too, it's all just good fun witching its limits. They had played bottle spin, the usual, with a twist of drinking or doing the dare. A couple of the girls were pushing it, encouraging it. She admitted she went along with it and wanted to play along, but the way she said it, ick. She looked ashamed and kind of said it quiet. The dares had been innocent and normal first, kind of tame stuff. The usual you hear everywhere. Who is your celebrity crush, what's your darkest secret, sing a particular song, and I imagine the rest would be along those lines. But they had gotten out of hand as the game went on and more drinks were consumed. Some of the girls had dared others to kiss each other, pick out their marry/fuck/kills, pour drinks into each other's mouths, and stuff like that. Obviously sounds to me like something that can lead to something very bad very quickly. My GF says she didn't know better or deny a good time. She says she felt it was fun in the moment and didn't feel that she did anything wrong, and it was all consensual and nobody minded it, and that it's normal for girls to do after getting tipsy. And that she doesn't even remember everything that well and had a hangover the next day, and says she isn't even sure if she did anything. And that she felt bad cause she obviously doesn't like girls that way, or that she normally doesn't do these kind of things and only kind of watches from the side. She never explicitly says what she participated in and what exact actions she took during the game, but talks like she's guilty, so it's all a bit confusing. Sigh. There was one girl there with them on the trip. Let's call her Ellie. I've met her, she's the fun easygoing type and the one I mentioned earlier in my post that doesn't seem like she would hurt me or her in any way. I asked my GF if she was there since I knew she was with them and that I wanted to know if I was totally wrong about her. Honestly wanted to know if they all sucked and played along knowing she has a boyfriend. My girlfriend said Ellie hadn't participated and kind of left the cabin when things started happening. She had mentioned she's not well and that she would be sitting this out, and just kind of left and came back later in the night. They had talked later that night outside, but she says nothing happened between them. Which honestly, I believe, and don't know why she brought it up since Ellie's actions don't sound suspicious anyway and I wouldn't have expected her to do anything between them, so this just feels like a weird extra detail that she added in. Also, I'm not saying it would have been Ellie's duty to tell anyone off, I honestly just wanted to know if I was wrong about her and if everyone there were alright with everything. My girlfriend said she hasn't talked to her or the girls much after the trip. Want you all to know I didn't yell at her or get angry. Just kind of sat there. I didn't know at first how to respond since she didn't sound like her usual considerate self. She kept saying she didn't know why she shut down and she's been feeling horrible since. That she didn't know how to tell me and that she has needed time to word her thoughts. We've been distant with each other after the talk and it's just this heaviness between us since she got back and now I know why. I don't even know what to do now. I told her I needed space and went out for a walk, came back, kind of just sit there in the living room not really even looking at her. Am I treating her the same way now? I'm shutting her out and ignoring the problem, the elephant in the room, not acknowledging things are fucked. Obviously I shouldn't be okay with this. I don't see a life without her. So her behavior is hard to accept. Should I sleep tonight somewhere else? If I should break it off immediately, everything is just a mess in my head and I don't know what to do or how to approach it. I've never been the confrontational type either. I love her. I really do. But I don't know if I can look at her the same way again. Not just because of what she maybe did but because she came home and shut me out, made me feel like I was crazy, for even noticing something was wrong. I feel like this is something she should have told immediately. This obviously affects us. Ick even know if there's us after this. We've set clear boundaries in our relationship and never crossed them. The fact she's still leaving details out bothers me. Anyway. That's where I'm at. Not really looking for advice right now, you're free to comment though and tell me your thoughts. Just needed to get this all out of my head. This feels like a dream and not the good kind. Edit 1, I phoned her friend, this time demanding further answers, since I can't get them from my girlfriend. She confirmed that there were more people joining them over the weekend than just their initial girlfriend group and that she wouldn't know what to tell me, since she really didn't care and told to go over it with my girlfriend if I was so concerned. Granted, I was emotional and raised my voice since I'm desperately trying to get a clear answer here. She and Ellie is the only one I can reach since I don't know any of the others' contacts. I'm so fucking done fishing for answers when no one gives me anything, it all seems useless. I'm not home at the moment and don't feel like going. Edit 2, I will be making an update later. Everything's kind of overwhelming and I need to sort things out for myself and think of my plans going forward. I've read through your comments, like I said I'm not looking for advice really, just needed to write these thoughts out somewhere. A couple people have reached out to me directly to offer support, I'm glad and I thank these people for that. Edit 3, there's a TLDR up top now, didn't realize at the time I was writing this post how long and messy it is, I kind of just wrote my thoughts and didn't think of it that way. Thanks for the people who let me know. Edit 4, to people getting hurt by this and telling they'd treat my girl better, sending me threats in my DMs, etc., honestly thanks for that. Gave me a couple of laughs in an otherwise fucked situation. Comments. Commenter 1. This is always going to be a cloud over your relationship if you continue to remain in it until she is completely honest with you. You cannot forgive/rebuild from something when you only have guesses and ideas as to what actions were taken to violate your relationship. You're owed the truth, whatever else comes of this. And no, kissing touching are not things that we as women just happen to do with one another when we're tipsy. That's not how drinking works. Sure, it lowers inhibitions and impairs judgment, but it does not flip some bi-curious switch that we can't resist. If it did, Ellie would have had no reason to retreat to her cabin and avoid whatever happened. You're being trickle-truthed and gaslit, though at this point, let's just call it what it is, you're being lied to about having been cheated on. At the very least, I'd advise first and foremost, no sex until STI testing has taken place. Second, the truth, all of it, must come out if there's any hope of repairing this relationship, if that is worth your time and effort. Commenter 2. First of all, remember your happiness isn't determined by whether or not you guys stay together. Sounds like she cheated. Guess what? A lot of people get blackout drunk and don't cheat. Maybe she got drunk, it lowered her inhibitions and turns out she is bisexual. Drinking is not an excuse. Sure, she is embarrassed, but she did what she did and needs to come to terms with it. My GF says she didn't know better or deny a good time. She says she felt it was fun in the moment and didn't feel that she did anything wrong, and it was all consensual and nobody minded it, and that it's normal for girls to do after getting tipsy. Going down on each other or whatever they did is not a normal thing for girls to do after getting tipsy. She is trying to normalize what happened. My ex went to a party and slept with her ex-boyfriend. She swore for years she was drunk out of her mind. She lied. Do what you need to. Commenter 3. She's obviously trickle-truthing. If she didn't have any idea what happened then she wouldn't have been so depressed the last couple of days. She knows. You don't have to set a deadline for her, you have to set a deadline for yourself. Tell her that if she hasn't come 100% clean by tomorrow then the two of you are over. And then act on it immediately. There's no excuse whatsoever for her not to have come clean already. If you think she's still not telling you the truth, then you need to have a phone call with someone else who was there and who will listen to her when she tells that person to be 100% honest with you. If you still doubt the level of honesty then just bounce out of this relationship. In reality, she's already ended it with her behavior. Update. TLDR, girlfriend came back from a trip acting distant. Eventually admitted something happened during a drinking game that crossed our clear relationship boundaries, but stayed vague. I spoke to Ellie, her friend, who confirmed the specifics and eventually confirmed she messed around not just with another girl but a guy as well. Some people supported me, others sent hateful DMs. I've decided to end things with her. It's a lot. Just writing this for closure and for myself and for the people who followed this. I'll be staying somewhere else for a couple days more maybe, before starting to make preparations for splitting off. I finally had a proper conversation with Ellie. It wasn't quick, we talked all evening. She didn't seem to want to at first, but eventually she opened up. She was the only one who wasn't drinking or participating, and I respect her for being straight with me. She told me that the group was drinking heavily, and at one point, some of the girls invited a few guys over who were staying nearby. Guys I had no idea would be there. Says she's not sure if this was the plan all along or if it was the girl's idea to do so in the moment, she didn't at least know about it beforehand. The drinking game started getting more intense with the guys involved. According to her, my girlfriend ended up making out with two different people, one of the girls BTW, same girl who told me not to worry about it and wouldn't give answers when I contacted her originally, and one of the guys. There was a lot of touching that wasn't just playful. As far as Ellie knows, she didn't fuck anyone. She says she left and doesn't know the happenings afterwards, but it was far past anything I'd ever be okay with, and definitely past anything we ever agreed was acceptable in our relationship. What hit me the hardest was how, according to Ellie, my girlfriend wasn't even that drunk at that point. Tipsy, sure, but not blacked out or out of control. She had been laughing, very involved, and didn't seem pressured. She wasn't out of it like she tried to make it sound. Ellie left because she was uncomfortable, and when she returned later, my GF was still full on party mode and her talking was all blurry and she was a mess. I've talked with my GF, well, my now ex, over the phone, but all I got was mumbles or silent treatment. I full on said I know what she did and that she could at least admit to me before I break it off. Asked if I meant anything to her or if all our time together has been fake or just an act for her. Asked about how long she has had problems with her drinking, since I've always thought of her a mature and smart woman. She was sobbing and told me she could help me understand if I came home and she could make up for it, and even if she did do it she still loved me. So I'm done. I can't stay in something where I'm lied to, gaslit, and made to feel like I'm overreacting for noticing something is off. She came home and shut down instead of being honest. She let me stay confused, even when trying to comfort her, when she should have been honest the second she walked through the door. Hell, she should have admitted as soon as it happened, not that it would have made it right what she did. Some people here on Reddit messaged me privately to offer support. Some have reached to something called Reddit Care Resources. Honestly, had no idea that existed. I'm in no need for that, but I'm thankful anyway. Thank you. Some have helped more than you would have had to. Others, though, have been blowing up my DMs, sent hate messages, called me names, told me I was pathetic for how I handled it. Someone asked for my ex's social so they can have fun with her since I don't know how to. Some have told they straight up don't believe me. Which, fair, you're not supposed to take everything at face value what you read. But to those people, congrats. I don't know what you expected me to answer, but you added nothing of value to my life. I've realized it was probably a mistake to start posting about this online at all in the first place. This will be the last update. I'm moving forward. Don't expect further updates. Thanks to the ones who cared, and my heart goes out to anyone who's dealing with anything similar. You're important and you deserve better. Love yourself and know your worth. Comments. Commenter 1. That trickle truth, man, it hurts. I knew it. She was definitely downplaying it to gauge your reaction to the makeup session with a girl to avoid the real kicker, which is she having some fun time with another dude. Yeah, she is a lost cause, trust is gone. Don't ever go back to this man, keep your heads held high, because Ellie shows you that not everyone is like that. There are women out there that can be true to themselves and avoid issues like this with sound of mind. Do yourself a favor and know that you trusted your gut, you didn't step down when it got tough. You asked questions, you poked when it got difficult. You did all that you could. She made many choices that ended up ruining the relationship. But know that, it would have happened anyways. If it wasn't this trip, it would have happened elsewhere. You are lucky that it happened right now, so that you aren't wasting more of your time with someone that isn't worthy of your time and effort. Find a hobby to let off some steam. Working out, running and boxing are all great. Not only will you let off steam, you also get healthier from doing it. Good luck, dude. It does get better. Commenter 2. She was definitely down playing it to gauge your reaction to the makeup session with a girl to avoid the real kicker, which is she having some fun time with another dude. Both are bad, actually. Commenter 3. Yeah, Ellie was the only good person out of that entire group. I'm glad she was willing to open up to you about that weekend when no one else would. Get your stuff, get a new place, and get all of this mess well and fully behind you. Best of luck in the future, man. Stories number 13. My 47M stepdad told my 44F mother that he wanted an open marriage because of her haircut. I, 19F, am not sure if I'm overstepping a boundary by sharing this story, but I'm moving out in a week and think this is ridiculous. My 44F mom and 47M stepdad have been married for 14 years. As far as I can remember, this guy has been in my life and I love him like I love my biological father. And they have had what looks to be a happy marriage. In the last year, my mom has started working overnights at a vet office. This causes her and my stepdad's schedule to not align. This also causes her to make more money than him. My mom has also struggled with her appearance in the last few years. She was on a strict keto diet, like my stepdad, for over a year and stopped when it began to make her feel more bad than good. This caused her to rapidly change weight and she's quite insecure about it. Me and her have a very close relationship and she has confided in me several times about her problems and other moments when it was clear to me that my stepdad was insecure about something. But I ain't a therapist, so my usual response is that she seek therapy because I am not equipped to be her daughter and her couple's therapist. Love her so much though. Today, she told me she was going to get a haircut with my sister 14F. The previous week she had been talking with me about getting her hair cut short so it's out of her face at work, and I showed a picture of this shorter 60s style pixie cut that I thought would be so cute on her. When she got back from her appointment, she was glowing. She was wearing her cute little cat eye-shaped glasses and I convinced her to put on a collared polka dot dress to complete the look. My sister kept making fun of her hair, but as long as she liked it I was happy for her. When my stepdad came home from the gym, he could not even look at her. I could tell this was making her sad. I made a joke about how it's like when he shaves himself a mustache and she hates it but deals with it anyway. There wasn't a whole lot of laughing in the crowd, so I walked upstairs to do my own thing and ended up out of the house for a couple hours. When I came back I could hear them arguing in their bedroom. I couldn't really make out what they were saying and chose to ignore it. Shortly after my mom came into my room. She sat down on my bed and told me that she had been up for a while. She told me they started arguing about her haircut. He kept telling her how ugly it looked, how ugly she was, how she was never going to have sex again with hair like that. This is all her exact retelling of the story. I was literally just sitting there, mouth open, thinking about how fucking crazy this was to ever come out of my stepdad's mouth. And then she hit me with he said he wanted to open our marriage. I may be 19 and have little relationship experience, but even I know that's basically admitting that you want to cheat on your wife. She started crying and I did not know what to say. Shortly after she got up and left the room. The only thing I said to her that whole time was I cannot wrap my head around how ridiculous this is. And I still can't. Not only do I feel horrible because I've been put in this odd situation between my mom and stepdad, whom I both love. I also feel horrible because if I was married to someone and they said some shit like this to me, I'd feel so horrible about myself. I want to help her if I can because I care about her, but I'm afraid I'm getting myself into something that I should not and cannot be a part of. And what's worse is that I'm moving 7 hours away in a week, so there's not a lot I can do. What should my mom do? Edit. I am in therapy myself for a wide range of other shit and have talked about family issues with my own therapist. Not this issue specifically, but rest assured I will at my next appointment. We'll update in about a week if anything happens. Top comments. Commenter 1. I think your mom should open the marriage with the help of a divorce lawyer. She deserves much better than an insecure prick. Commenter 2. Hi OP. It sounds like your mom has been prettifying you for years. You sound really mature, and telling her to speak to a professional is what she absolutely should be doing instead of using her daughter as an emotional support crutch. This isn't your problem to solve. That being said, of course you are rightly worried, but if your mother is refusing to confide in anyone but you, removing yourself from the equation is probably the best for everyone. Your mother is the only one who can make the decision to leave. Perhaps without you there to serve as her soundboard, she will start to take some steps to unravel how she really feels. It's so easy to get caught in a trap of outrage when you've been hurt by someone you love. Your mother is likely still in denial and needs to come to terms with things herself. Commenter 3, you can feel in the middle when two people you love argue, but when one person is abusive, "you're too ugly to have sex," is not a normal reaction. He meant to hurt her. You need to take sides, because if you stay neutral, it will appear as if you don't disagree, which will dishearten the victim and empower the abuser. He wants to fuck someone else. The marriage is over. He wants to open the marriage so he doesn't have to sort out his living situation and pay his bills and do his own housework, but I would not agree with that. Wanting out is his prerogative, hurting your mom is not. Update: my 47M stepdad told my 44F mother that he wanted an open marriage because of her haircut. Secondly, I need to address some things. Yes, my mom has friends her age and siblings that she is close with. I have no clue to what extent she talks to them about stuff like this. No, my mom is not the only one who will vent to me sometimes. My stepdad is the same way. Usually it's about more trivial things, but I get to hear both sides of the story most of the time about small arguments that don't really matter. No, I don't think my sister will turn into me once I leave. To put it lightly, she's spoiled. My parents will often vent to me about my sister and her craziness like it isn't the effects of their own passive parenting. I think after all that happened when I was a child they just kinda gave up with her, and it hurts to watch. But I know I can't parent a child that isn't mine. Now on to the update. The day after it happened I was with my best friend and she brought it up to her in nonchalant conversation as we were about to leave for a 3-day trip. Obviously my best friend was worried and I said outright, "I don't think we should be taking about this right now." My mom's response was, "Oh, you always get mad when I do this." She doesn't mind. I pulled my mom aside and told her I think it's inappropriate to bring my friends into this conversation. She's brought up other ridiculous shit to my friends. I told her I'm worried about her and I see her situation getting worse every day and that I want her to get professional help. She didn't say much and I left for 3 days. When I came back, everything seemed to be okay. All my mom told me was that he apologized and said when he get angry he says things unfiltered. I said you should still get couples therapy because again that's ridiculous, but my stepdad doesn't believe in therapy. At this point, I am glad that I am moving away so I don't have to hear about any of this anymore. I love my mom and am glad to love her at a distance and spend a couple weeks out of the year with her. But I'm so happy to be free from listening to everyone's problems. One day this will likely all blow up in their faces again and I'll get a call that they got a divorce or something. I mean, there's nothing more that I can do, right? Top comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad to hear you're leaving, and if I can give you a little piece of advice once you're gone to deal with your mom. When she calls you and start dumping on you, shut down the conversation. Tell her you're not talking about this, and then if she keeps going or tries to guilt you, end the conversation and hang up. Keep repeating every time until she gets it. Good luck to you. Commenter 2, your mom needs to mature and find her own help instead of bringing these issues to you and your friends. I have a friend whose mom is like this. She told me her marital and family problem when I was a teen and I found it wildly inappropriate then. Not like she'd ever take advice anyway, it was always just trauma dumping on teens. Like, WTF. Space and time away will help get you out of the trauma dumping loop. You clearly love your mom, but using you as her free therapist will wear down your relationship over time. Stories number 14. My 20M girlfriend's 21F best friend called me broke, then asked my girlfriend to pay for her trip. I'm in my second year of college and I thought I had my life pretty much figured out. I had a girlfriend I loved, a part-time campus job that kept me afloat, and a small but close group of friends. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. Then her best friend came into our lives. I'm not the type to dislike people without a reason, so when my girlfriend introduced me to her, I genuinely tried to be friendly. But from day one, she had this energy that I don't like. She made these small comments about my clothes, my old phone, and once even joked in front of everyone that my car looked like it was built before Wi-Fi existed. I laughed it off, but it stung. It got worse when money came into the equation. One night, we were all out for coffee, and I paid for everyone. It wasn't a big deal to me, I like doing small gestures like that. But after that, her friends seemed to expect it. We'd go out, she'd forget her wallet, or nudge my girlfriend with a smile like it was some inside joke that I'd cover her. The real crack in the wall came when my girlfriend told me her friend had been saying I was cheap because I didn't want to split the cost of a random weekend trip they planned without me. I couldn't instantly drop $300 for a trip, I was broke. It bothered me because I'd been working hard to be smart with money. My parents didn't have a safety net for me, so every dollar I spent mattered. I wasn't just blowing cash around to look good. I was trying to build a stable life. Here's the twist, that trip they took, my girlfriend ended up paying for her friend the whole time because she didn't have enough saved. The same friend who called me broke. Ironically, a month before, she had been bragging about buying a $200 Zara haul at the mall. And then some expensive makeup at Sephora. Here's the petty part, I decided from that day forward, I would never cover anything for her again. No coffee, no snacks, nothing. I got Fizz to track every cent I spent so there'd be no, "oh, I'll pay you back" nonsense. If she forgot her wallet, I'd politely say, "no worries, you can grab it next time and order my stuff alone." She hates it. She's not used to me setting boundaries, and now she doesn't get a cent out of me. My girlfriends noticed too, she said it's weird seeing her friend actually pay for her own things. LMAO, sometimes you don't need to fight someone to protect yourself. You just need to stop giving them access to the parts of you they can take advantage of. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. Maybe she'll just find some new, more naive, friends. Reply. Yeah, should be miles away from these kinds of girls. Her future husband should be taking a load IG LMAO. Commenter 2. Yeah, you're right, it should be normal not to pay for someone else. But at the start I thought she was being genuine but got to know the truth later. Reply. That goes for your girlfriend too, mate. I hope you're setting the right boundaries with her as it doesn't look good on her that she wasn't telling your friend she couldn't take your money like that. Stories number 15. Aita for denying my future in-laws only request for the wedding, therefore ruining our whole relationship. I need some advice on this situation from an unbiased source. Me 23 female and my fiancé 27 male are getting married in December. We got engaged in April and I pretty much did all the planning myself with the help of my mom in the first few weeks. From the very beginning my fiancé and I had a plan laid out for the bridal party. That was one of the first things decided since before I had the ring on my finger. Including flower girls and ring bearers. We decided that the flower girl would be my sister who's also my matron of honor's baby who will be pushed in a stroller down the aisle by my 10F cousin who would be considered a junior bridesmaid. For the ring bearers my fiancé really wanted to include his best friend's son. For context his friend has not had custody of his child for most of his life. Long story, and it could be a little difficult to arrange his attendance. He will be around a year and a half at the time of the wedding. As a result we decided that we would also have my two cousins 5 male and 7 male, the brothers of the junior bridesmaid be ring bearers as well. This way it's no pressure on the friend and everything will go smoothly whether his child can come or not. The older boys will help the younger boy walk down the aisle holding his hands. We decided on these specific children because they are closely related / close to us and are the right age. Shortly after the engagement, I asked my sister and my cousin the moms of the children if their kids could be in the wedding and gave details of what they should wear etc. The kids and parents both were so excited. This was great and everything was going according to plan until a few weeks ago when my mother-in-law asked us if we would consider adding another flower girl. For context, my fiancé's brother / best man 24 male lives across the country from us and has recently told us around 4 months ago that he has a new girlfriend 21 female. This girlfriend has a child from a previous relationship female 10 months. They have now known each other about 7 or 8 months. He is very serious about her and we are very happy for them. He has taken a sort of father role in her daughter's life which is adorable. He is expressing interest in marrying her in the future but they are taking it slow. My fiancé and I have never met this girlfriend or her child, but we are thrilled for his brother so we of course invited them both to the wedding. Now this is where things get a little messy. I have always gotten along great with my fiancé's family. They have always been so sweet, kind, accepting, and well-meaning. They welcome newcomers with open arms including me and have really become my family. I especially had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. She is the sweetest lady and would do anything for me and any one of her children. She lives very close to us and my family lives far. She was always the first to say that it's our wedding, meaning mine and my fiancé, to encourage me to make my own decisions in wedding planning and not let my mother sway them. She has become like a mother to me in so many ways. With that being said, they are also very loving and accepting of my fiance's brother's girlfriend and her baby from afar. Which is great. I'm so glad that they are so supportive. They even started calling her baby their first grandchild and flew across the country to meet them. With this context in mind, a couple weeks ago when my mother-in-law and I were hanging out, just the two of us, she asked me if I would consider adding the girlfriend's baby as a flower girl. She said fiance's brother keeps bringing it up and that it would be really cute. I politely told her that we already had a flower girl, my niece, and a junior bridesmaid assigned to push her in a carriage. She responded by saying essentially, what's one more? She will probably be able to walk by herself down the aisle by then. 14 to 15 months. I kind of just said I would think about it with my fiancé and changed the subject. Later on I told my fiancé about it and we both agreed that it wasn't a good idea because 1. We already had the role filled and it would be sort of awkward to have a baby randomly walking next to the stroller with the other baby. 2. If she needed help walking, it wouldn't be easy for the 10-year-old to juggle 2 kids down an aisle. 3. We have never met her and she might not be comfortable walking down the aisle of a wedding where she knows nobody. And 4. They aren't married, and worst case scenario if they break up she's in all the pictures. I know that sounds harsh, but I come from a family where traditionally if you're not engaged you don't get a +1 no matter who you are. I am not following this rule and everyone's significant other is invited, but that doesn't mean they get to be in the wedding. My fiancé and I were on the same page about this. We agreed to keep the bridal party the way it was. He talked to his brother and essentially told him it was a no and everything was fine and everyone was on the same page until the other night. We were at mother-in-law's house again, but this time my fiancé was there too. Once again Mil brings up the flower girl thing and my fiancé tells her that we already have the position filled and that's that. But then my Mil tells my fiancé how much it must mean to his brother since he keeps bringing it up. This brings out the empath in my fiancé and he starts to have an open mind about it. Meanwhile I'm still against it. And I start to say so with some of the reasons I listed above. My Mil points out that all of the children in the wedding are from my side except one and that their side doesn't have any representation. Meanwhile this is because there are no children on his side. She also points out that there are 3 little boys in the wedding and why can't there be 3 little girls? At this point she's convinced my fiancé and I'm an island. I'm still defending my position alone. She wasn't being rude or anything, but every reason I have she seemed to have a rebuttal. She's saying things like they will get married one day anyways and she's already part of the family. Then I start saying we will think about it. And she is like, so that sounds like a no, and I was like we will consider it. It was awkward and I was about to like cry, so I changed the subject. The whole time I felt like I looked like a major asshole. It was really bad. My fiancé since apologized to me for being open to the idea in front of his mother when we had decided against it. From what he believed about his mother, he figured that she would just have an open conversation with us and not try to push her way. I figured it would not go that way. Later that night he called his brother and told him it was for sure no and we had already asked other people. His brother was sad but understood. I felt really bad and guilty for making my fiancé feel bad. In hindsight I really should not have because of what followed afterwards. This is where my previous post left off. A lot has happened in the last few days. I was worried immediately after that conversation that his mother would tell his brother that my fiancé was for it and I was against it while we were at her place. My fiancé said that he knows his mother well and that she wouldn't do that. That next morning his brother calls him wanting to talk. The first words out of his mouth are, after our conversation last night I talked to mom and she said that you were wanting to have her as the flower girl and your fiancé me wasn't just as I thought would happen. And he goes on to say, as your brother I want to make sure that you get what you want since it's your wedding. I was pissed. My fiancé told him that we would still talk about it but that we had already agreed not to have her as the flower girl and that he should not have seemed so open to it last night. That whole day we discussed it. I felt like an asshole and was tempted to cave to keep the peace, but the only reason my fiancé was wanting it was because it meant a lot to his brother. But the conclusion we came to was that it's not his brother's wedding. So we called him up a few hours later and told him no for the 3rd time. He was upset, but at least it was over, or so we thought. He texted him the next morning again expressing how hurt he was by it, but at that point we were like, the decision is made. It's our wedding, please get over it. And then my fiancé's brother enlisted their mother. She calls my fiancé and basically attacks him for almost an hour on the phone. My fiancé did a great job of sticking up for us and sticking to his guns. His mom went as far as to say that my relationships with his whole family will forever be affected by this decision. That one hurt. And that my fiancé's relationship with his brother will forever be altered. At this point this is all going way too far. We ended up talking to my fiancé's sister and found out that his brother no longer wants to be best man anymore and that neither of them want to speak to us for a while. They said that this won't be resolved until we give in. I'm at a loss for words. This doesn't even feel like a real situation, to be honest. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. We are definitely not going to give in. At this point all that it would tell them is that if they push hard enough they can manipulate us. It just really hurts because we had such a great relationship before this. Am I the asshole for saying no to their request? TLDR, my fiancé's brother and mother are trying to manipulate and force us to have brother-in-law's girlfriend's daughter as a flower girl. Brother-in-law is not the biological father of this child and we have never met this child or her mother. They have also only been together for 8 months. We have said no repeatedly and they are personally offended and now won't talk to us. Update 1, Aita for denying my in-laws only request at our wedding, therefore ruining our relationship. Thank you for those of you that gave great advice and were trying to help the situation. Your insight really opened our eyes, mine and my fiancé. A lot of you hit the nail on the head. Brother-in-law is the golden child and has always been favored greatly over my fiancé by their mother. Bil is the youngest and his mother has been coddling him his whole life. My fiancé is the oldest and tends to be the peacemaker/sacrificed. A lot of you also called out the triangulation manipulation. I told my fiancé this and he said that his younger brother often would rope his mom into their arguments, get her to take his side, and get my fiancé in trouble no matter how ridiculous or wrong brother was being. He mastered the art of triangulation manipulation from a young age. My fiancé would just take it and apologize to keep the peace. For those of you who said it's ridiculous to have a child we have never met and are not related to and have not even met her mother as such an important part of our wedding party, thank you. I was feeling like the crazy one for thinking this. Also info, I was being gracious when I said they have been together 8 months. They have known each other 8 months and only been dating officially for 4 months. The wedding is further away than the length of their whole relationship. It's bizarre that they are pushing so hard for this. For those who said we should have granted their request and just kept the peace, my fiancé has been doing this his entire life with this family. That is probably why they resorted to their usual manipulation tactics. He never actually wanted to have this baby in our wedding. He in fact thought it was pretty ridiculous of them to ask. He was just ready to cave because he always does to keep the family peace. At the expense of himself and his needs/wants every time. Except the difference is, this time the wedding is about him. It's his day and not his brother. Well, both of us. And that's the other thing. He has me this time to stand up for him and what he actually wanted I also wanted it too, which helps lol. On to the update, a lot has happened. Today my fiancé went to see his dad, and then his mom. They are separated. His dad is neutral but has been sticking up for me in this whole thing. I have a great relationship with him. He filled us in on a lot. Here is essentially what has been happening. Turns out brother-in-law's girlfriend has more to do with this than we thought, as some of you suggested in the comments. She is the one who has been encouraging him to push for this because it means a lot to him. And been super offended and making a big deal about us saying no. Personally, if it was me I would never ask someone if my kid could be in their wedding. Even if it's family. But forcing it on strangers is wild. My fiancé found out from talking to his dad that my mother-in-law and brother-in-law are spreading a whole bunch of lies. Here is what has all unfolded. Mother-in-law is telling people I'm racist and that's why I didn't want the baby in it. Apparently the baby and mother are Filipino, which I honestly didn't even know because once again I've never met them. They live across the country. I don't even know their last name, but still I don't care what race they are in the slightest. The girlfriend now believes this and doesn't even want to come to the wedding anymore. That's her choice. Also, the wedding party is diverse ethnicities, so how is it that I'm racist? LOL. Brother-in-law is telling people that we are judging the girlfriend and don't want her child in the wedding because she was born out of wedlock, which is ridiculous. 2 of the children who are already in the wedding were born out of wedlock. 1 from each side. They have been talking behind our backs, gossiping, making up lies about me, and assuming things about me that are not true. Brother-in-law is twisting and changing my fiancé's words into complete lies that make him seem like the victim. He is feeding these lies of things my fiancé did not say to not only his mother, but his sister and his dad. My sister-in-law and father-in-law are both neutral and won't take sides but think that this whole thing is insane and want it to end. We do too. They both see that they are doing this whole thing and hate me for no reason. So today my fiancé went to see his mother to essentially call her out for her behavior. She was absolutely hysterical and was not ready to listen to reason or logic. She deflected and denied. And lied about things we knew were in fact true. She refused to take accountability or any sort of blame for the situation getting out of hand. She just deferred back to blaming me for everything and making me the villain and herself and her precious baby son Bil the victim. Meanwhile, the last time I spoke to either of them was when we had that conversation with mother-in-law at her house where my fiancé slipped and this whole thing started. My fiancé has been handling this whole thing and even trying to shield me from the blame and take it all for himself. It's not working. Mother-in-law and brother-in-law have made this whole thing up in their heads and driven themselves and everyone else crazy over it. Meanwhile, all I've done is express my concerns for having a child in the wedding that we don't know in that initial conversation when they aren't engaged or married. And the fact that we already filled the roles. She denies favoring brother-in-law and claims that she is hurt by the accusation and then in the same breath favors him and defends him. I feel the worst for my fiancé because he doesn't even want anything to do with them anymore and does not feel the need to keep up with these relationships. He said that his mother expected him to fall on his face today and apologize for everything because that is what he was forced to do growing up and that's what they are used to. But now that I'm an extension of him, he is not letting me get treated this way. He is angry that they are selfishly trying to use our day to make some grand gesture to his brother's girlfriend he's been dating for 4 months and that they refuse to respect our wishes. He is shocked and disappointed that they are lying about us and creating drama around our wedding. He is saying goodbye to this toxic cycle and going to go no contact until they come to their senses and fix this mess. For those of you who asked, we are in premarital counseling with our pastor who is also our officiate. He was bewildered that they even requested this in the first place and shocked and dismayed that they have turned it into such an ordeal. Anyways, this wasn't the update we hoped for, but it's the one we have. Hopefully one day things will turn around. We are hoping mother-in-law at least comes to her senses considering we are the only family that lives near her. Maybe she will learn to support the son and daughter-in-law who will one day birth the grandkid she actually has a shot of seeing regularly, rather than blatantly favoring the son and girlfriend who live across the country. But for the time being, this is it. Update 2, Aita for denying my in-laws' only request for our wedding, therefore ruining our relationship. Hi guys, I have a small update. I decided to just be the bigger person and try to dissolve some of the tension myself. I was tired of my fiancé talking to his brother and his brother twisting it, so I tracked down Bil's girlfriend on Instagram and sent her a DM like some of our comments suggested. Thank you. I cut out the middlemen, literally LOL. I sent her a very nice message telling her how excited we are to meet her and her daughter, explained from my point of view in detail everything that went into the original decision of the flower girl and cleared up all of the miscommunications, her boyfriend's assumptions and twists of my fiancé's words, but I didn't say that LOL. Surprisingly, she was very kind and appreciative. Her message back was very mature, gracious, and understanding. Me and her are 100% good and she and her baby are very excited to come to the wedding. Honestly, it could not have gone better. Now for what everyone is wondering about, we are still low contact with mother-in-law and brother-in-law. My fiancé is not ready to talk to either of them. Brother-in-law has not tried to reach out. That night, after mother-in-law had that horrible conversation with my fiancé, she found out that sister-in-law was coming to my first dress fitting the next day and she wasn't invited. She asked sister-in-law to call us and ask if she could come to it. We told her there would be others, I wouldn't really be able to enjoy the day with all the tension. The next day I had a great time with sister-in-law and did not mention the topic situation even once because I knew she was forced to hear about it from both her mom and my fiancé. Mother-in-law reached out to both me and my fiancé and asked to talk to both of us in person and proposed a few dates. My fiancé told her that he was not ready to talk to her yet after how their conversation went the day before. The timing of it tells me that she definitely sees that if she doesn't make this right, she will be left out of all the wedding stuff. Not only that, but all of the life stuff that we're doing. For example, we just put an offer in on a house. I am holding out hope that our relationship with her will be mended one day soon. I am hoping that his brother also comes around now that we have explained everything to his girlfriend. My fiancé has expressed that they need to apologize before we can move forward. Not too much of an update, but just wanted to keep you guys in the loop. Thanks for reading and following along with this madness. Update 3, Aita for denying my in-laws' only request for our wedding, therefore ruining our relationship. Brother-in-law's girlfriend broke up with him. I don't know all the details, but BL told my sister-in-law, who told my fiancé this morning. Apparently she said she couldn't deal with the toxicity and drama of his family. Trust me girl, I get that, but my fiancé is super upset because he thinks that she means US. As in me and him. I said after our messages the other day she probably means mother-in-law, but my fiancé is convinced that from her perspective, he and I are the toxic ones creating drama. That's debatable, I guess. Either way, he feels super guilty and now just wants to fix everything with his family. I'm convinced that if anything, my text to her showed her how crazy he made this whole situation, and it probably illuminated some of his issues. I think he probably tries to manipulate her too. But it's hard to say, I don't know her or their relationship. At this point I'm speculating, but I'm sure that there were other issues with them. Nobody breaks up with someone they truly are in love with just because of their family. There has to be something else. Let me update you on mother-in-law. Mother-in-law called my fiancé the other day before the breakup and stuff, which we all just found out about this morning, and told him maybe it's good this all happened, now you're going to therapy to work on yourself, and my mother is being super supportive. We did not appreciate that. Felt super condescending tbh. But anyways, he called her this morning after all of this, and she said she was trying to see us so that she could apologize to us. I will definitely hear her out and accept her apology. I will move on from this, but always watch my back. Things can be cordial again though. Comments. Commenter 1. Based on your posts, it would seem that GF ended the relationship over the BL/MIL drama, but I am sure MIL will twist it. Stand your ground. If your fiancé doesn't stand with you, that is a huge red flag. Commenter 2. Nobody breaks up with someone they are truly in love with just because of their family. Oh my sweet, summer child. Commenter 3. Yeah, I would stop the wedding and GTFO if your husband is making this your problem. The GF is right, get away from this toxic family, your fiancé included. He's as much a problem as his asshole family. I will move on from this, but always watch my back. Life is too short for this stuff. This is the rest of your life, man. Stories number 16. Aita for refusing to give my sister my Wi-Fi password after she accidentally gave it to her boyfriend. So I 27M live in a small apartment above my parents' garage. My sister 25F still lives at home. We've always been close-ish, but lately she's been bringing her boyfriend over constantly. A few months ago, she asked for my Wi-Fi password because the signal upstairs is better. I gave it to her. A week later, I noticed the internet was sluggish. I checked my router and saw 7 new devices connected. Turns out she gave my password to her boyfriend just for one night, but then he gave it to his friend so they could download something quickly. I confronted her, she laughed it off, and said, "It's just Wi-Fi, don't be so dramatic." I changed the password. She found out, got mad, and told my parents I was being petty. Now they're telling me I should just share because it's family. I said I'll happily share if she promises not to give it to anyone else. She refused, saying I can't control what people do. So I refused too. Now she's sulking, my parents are annoyed, and I'm getting side-eyed at dinner. Aita for not giving her the new password. Comments. Commenter 1. Set up a guest network and name it what your current network is. Change your own network to something like Comcast Guest or whatever so she doesn't realize it's yours. On the guest network, limit it to like 25% of the total bandwidth using the router's controls. She'll see the same name and think she and her freeloaders are on your usual network, but be limited to a fraction of the available bandwidth and whatever speed you allow. Don't be an asshole, be smarter than they are. Commenter 2. You can also limit the bandwidth of each device on your router, without having to create a guest network. Assign a fixed internal IP to the unwanted MAC addresses, and set their bandwidth to 1 megabit per second. They won't be able to detect anything unusual without access to the router settings, and if they complain, just say that it's been that way ever since so many people started sharing your Wi-Fi. Commenter 3. Info. Were you sister's boyfriend and his 6 friends camped out in your garage? Because in order for them to be connected to your Wi-Fi and using your internet, they'd have to be in range of the signal. And the signal range of a typical router is around 150 feet. Reply. They all hang out in the main area below my apartment. It's right above the garage, which is detached from the house but very close. Stories number 17. Wibta if I divorce my husband just for asking to be polyamorous. This is really upsetting to me on all accounts, and I'm getting mixed opinions from the few real-life people I've talked to about it, so I could use the advice of total strangers. I 26F and my husband 27M have been married for just over a year and together for 4. We spent a long time before getting married talking about what we wanted out of being married, so I thought we were on the same page about all the important things. I do love him very much. He is sweet, helpful, and generally my dream partner until last week. Out of the blue, he sat down one night and said he wanted to talk about something. I thought it was just something minor he was frustrated about or a bad day at work or something. Instead, he talked about how he found out that his best guy friend and his wife are polyandrous. He and his friend have been talking about it more and he thinks he might like to try it and wondered what I thought. I felt instantly sick to my stomach. We've always had a great sex life and he's never given me any reason to think he was interested in anyone else. I told him that I'm not interested in being in a polyamorous relationship. I want to be monogamous with him for the rest of my life. If it had stopped there, I don't think it would have gotten so bad, but then he asked if I would read about it and then decide. I said no, I already know how I feel about it. He asked if I would at least think about it and for some reason that just did something to me. Like instant revulsion, kind of upset. I got up and told him that I was too upset to keep talking and that I needed some space so I would sleep in the guest room that night and we could talk later. Ever since that night, I have the biggest ick any time I see him. He keeps trying to backtrack, but I know he meant what he said about wanting to be polyamorous. It's not so much that he brought it up, it's the two other asks after I already said I would never be comfortable with it. It's like that didn't matter to him, he thought he could convince me and it makes me feel awful. What else is he going to pressure me about if I say no? And if he already wants to sleep with someone else, how can I ever trust him not do it behind my back? I'm still sleeping in the guest room and I'm thinking of just asking for a divorce now when it would be simpler to divide everything up and go our separate ways instead of waiting until years down the line when I get my heart broken. He could go do whatever he wants and I could find someone who just wants a good solid monogamous relationship with me. The idea is killing me, but I feel like it's going to hurt now no matter what I do. While I do still love him, I don't think I can ever unhear and unsee my husband asking me for an open relationship and the idea of him touching me makes me feel ill. He's upset and frustrated that I'm punishing him for asking a question, but I honestly don't know what he expected to happen. There is a part of me that thinks maybe divorcing him is being overdramatic, but also, the ick is so strong that I don't have much hope of getting back to where we were. Aita Reddit, gosh, this got a lot of replies. I'm reading through them as best I can. I'm going to take the advice to get an STI test and my gyno is going to work me in today for that. I don't think he would physically cheat, but better safe than sorry. I do think there is probably someone he's interested in, possibly his friend's wife or maybe even his friend. He's never expressed being bisexual, but that doesn't mean he isn't. I don't know them very well, so I can't speculate on their role in all of this. I'm going to be charitable and assume there are no machinations from their end and he just picked this up from his friend and ran with it. I want to be clear that I am not ignoring him. We can talk about whatever else is going on, but I'm not ready to continue this conversation with him and he knows that. I want to be calm for that and his behavior is not really conducive to a sense of calm right now. Every time he brings it up makes me a little more disgusted with him, but he seems intent on digging the hole instead of letting things settle. That and not taking the first no for an answer is a bigger issue than the poly ask for me. I think I'm going to meet with a lawyer just to go over options. At this point, I don't have a lot of faith in counseling changing how I feel about him now, but I would be willing to try a few sessions to say we gave it a shot. I'll throw that out there tonight and see what he says. Edit 2, he doesn't think counseling is necessary, he just wants to go back to the way things were before bringing it up. I've told him that's not an option, you can't unbreak a bone, it has to heal instead. I asked him if he had someone in mind and he said no, but he's not a very good liar and I don't really believe him. He says it was just an idea and there's no one and nothing has happened, but he also doesn't want to show me the messages between him and his friends so I can understand the content of the conversation they had. I will respect his choice, but it's enough to convince me that there's something he's hiding even if it's not an affair in progress and that's a problem. I've got an appointment with a lawyer in a few days. I'm going to wait until after that to make a decision and I'm going to take a short trip alone to see my grandparents this weekend to get some fresh air and perspective. I'll try to update next week after all the test results come back and I've had a chance to look at all the facts with a professional. Thank you for kind support and advice. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. I don't think it's overdramatic to get out of a contract you signed with another person when they are trying to change the terms a year into it. Commenter 2, that's a powerful way to say it, and it takes the emotional side out of the picture enough to realize it makes perfect sense. That, and the fact that if your husband gives you the ick, it's obviously over, plain as day. Commenter 3, NTA. Polyamory is other relationships. Not just open sex. And men oftentimes overestimate their value and ability to get other partners. They also tend to already have someone in mind when asking. Commenter 4. And they also tend to get quite jealous when their wife starts having relationships with other men. Commenter 5. I have a lot of poly in my circle of friends. After being with my husband for 24 years we have discussed it. While we find it interesting and works for our friends though not without some drama, we ultimately decided it was better to water our own lawns instead. We were at a friend's house for dinner and another guest brought up a similar situation she was in and asking our poly friend Chuck his take. His answer was, look him in the eyes and ask him, are you really okay with kissing me goodnight when I had another man's dick in my mouth? Do you want me to tell you about it? Because this is what you are asking for. If you want to be super petty, start a free online dating profile. Then after you tell him this, let him look through all the DMs. NTA, it's really hard to come back from an ick. I would get your ducks in order and then make a decision if you want to stay, separate, divorce. At least you have a backup plan. Update. A lot of people wanted an update and I've made some difficult decisions. I took advice from the thread and got an STI panel done. Fortunately, it came back clear. I suggested counseling, but my husband does not think it's necessary. I doubt it will change my feelings, so I'm not going to push for it. He is being overly protective of his phone after I asked to see a message conversation between him and his poly friend to understand the context of the situation. I would not violate his privacy, but there clearly is something he doesn't want me to see and that's enough. It doesn't matter to me anymore whether there is something already in progress or just the desire for there to be. The shadiness of his behavior tells me what I need to know. I've been tempted to contact his friends directly to get their take, but in the event there is infidelity happening, I would rather not burden myself with the details, to be honest. I had a heart-to-heart with my grandparents this weekend and spoke with a lawyer yesterday. As of right now I'm planning to move forward with the divorce. With no kids and no joint property or debt since we were waiting on buying a house till I'm finished with residency, it should be easy to split the financials. The lease on our apartment is up in a couple of months anyway, so I plan to move out after breaking the news and just pay my portion of the rent on the current place until it's renewal time. I'm heartbroken, but I'm convinced that this is the best move. I don't trust him anymore, I'm repulsed by his behavior since the ask, and I think it's best to cut our losses before digging the hole deeper. If he was willing to be transparent and do something to work on re-establishing trust, it would be different, but that's not the case and I don't want to put in effort that he's not interested in putting in. I will be fine with time. So, yeah, not a happy ending, but I think it's in my best overall interest and, if he's not happy with monogamy a year into marriage, his best interest as well. Hopefully, we can part ways quietly and without a lot of fuss. Comments. Commenter 1. You don't think this is a happy ending right now, but future you is gonna be so glad you left. Commenter 2. Man, I would love to hear his response to knowing he set fire to his whole life. Bet he's willing to go to counseling once divorce is on the table. That's what my STB ex-husband did and he was shocked to learn that the window for it had passed. And what do you mean I can't just go back and undo that massive mistake I made? Commenter 3. That's the new favorite fad, immediately scheduling therapy or counseling when the partner walks or when they get caught cheating. Personally, that would be insult to injury to me and all the more reason to dump them. Someone running to therapy because they realize your walking is being disingenuous, they're just fumbling for a delay. The time to do it honestly was before the fallout happened. Commenter 4. Joke will be on him because he severely overestimated his market value. The internet seems to have a lot of dudes convinced they can have something that's basically polygamy. LOL, good luck with that. Commenter 5. The kicker is, you need a female partner to work the lifestyle. There's a million single guys looking to swing LOL. Can't even get into most clubs unless you have AF partner LOL 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 dude will be swinging his dick in circle jerks. Update. Brief up to date. My husband asked for a polyamorous relationship. I said no. He badgered me about it and refused to give me space, then got mad when I refused to discuss it or sleep in the same bed with him while I was trying to calm down. His behavior gave me the ick so bad that I decided it was best to divorce and saw a lawyer to begin the process. My suspicions that there was already something going on were confirmed when the wife of a poly couple that he was friends with contacted me to tell me that he had been involved with them for a few months and had confessed that I didn't know. They broke up with him as a result. The call from the APs coincided with my ex trying very hard to apologize and make it right, but without admitting to cheating or anything else. A fellow resident was looking for a roommate, so I made plans to move in with her. I also let my parents and some close friends know the situation. My lawyer advised me to talk to my ex before papers were served, so I had planned to have the talk right before moving out. Which set up an uncomfortable situation in which I was living with a cheating ex who didn't know I knew. The plan was originally to move out next weekend, but things took a bad turn this week. My ex started getting agitated that I wasn't responding to his attempts to smooth things over, and that ultimately escalated into him trying to get into bed with me against my wishes on Thursday. I was able to get an emergency leave from work and mostly moved out while my ex was at work on Friday. My parents drove down and helped and then stayed to be nearby when my ex got home. My lawyer filed Friday. He did not take it well. I told him I knew about the cheating and was filing for a divorce. I also told him that I wanted to do this quietly, that I know his bisexuality puts him in a dangerous situation with his family, and it would be best if we kept the story at he cheated. He could contact me through my lawyer for any information. He yelled, broke down crying, and said he refused to accept the divorce and I should give him a chance to fix things. My dad came in and made sure he didn't try to stop me from leaving, and we left. I called the in-laws on the way and told them that I was divorcing him for cheating and that I appreciated them welcoming me into their family and wished them all well, but I would probably not be in contact again. His parents were shocked, but they reacted with a lot more grace than I expected. I blocked my ex on everything but email because I can't deal with him. My parents had gotten an Airbnb, so I crashed with them and basically fell apart. At this point I moved in. That part of my life is over. My ex is apparently suicidal, according to a mutual friend. I hope he gets help, because his behavior in the last few weeks has really been strange, so I do wonder if he's not experiencing some kind of mental health episode. It doesn't change the fact that I'm done. I'm not okay, but I will be. Just going to focus on work and taking care of myself for a while. This is probably my last update as I want to turn towards the future. Thank you to those who have offered support and advice. I really do appreciate it. Comments. Commenter 1. You handled it well, but if anyone asks your advice in future, don't meet in person with the ex. Anything can happen and not good. Commenter 2. Sounds like he fell for the poly couple, but the only way to keep them was to bring you in. NTA. Stories number 18. My dad's new wife had an adult temper tantrum the whole day. So for backstory, my dad is recently married to a woman that myself, my siblings and many members of my dad's family do not like. She has done some very hurtful things in the past year and is very controlling of my father and his contact with us. Anytime she doesn't get her way, she has an outburst, and my dad takes the path of least resistance and just does what she says, even if it comes at the cost of hurting his kids. However, I decided to put that all behind me and invite her to my wedding anyways, knowing sadly that my dad would likely not come to my wedding if she wasn't invited. I did, however, only ask that he come to the rehearsal, as it would only be about 20 people and I didn't want any drama happening the night before the wedding. My dad agreed with the plan months ago, but then a week before called and said he wouldn't be there if she wasn't invited. I stood my ground and said I'd see them on the wedding day. That seemed to have set her off. She arrived in a bright red, sparkly mini dress. Multiple guests were overhead asking who the stripper in the dress was. Cried before the ceremony started and refused to stand as my mom and dad walked me down the aisle. Sulked and disappeared for family photos, even though I was inviting her to be in them. Loudly said that she didn't want to eat any of the shitty food that was being served for dinner. This comment actually got my grandma, who never says a mean thing about anyone, to tell her that if she can't be respectful then she needs to leave. Got into a fight with my dad and threw her drink. Kept disappearing to drink in her car, then reappearing just to sulk and cry in the corner. Luckily, none of these events impacted my night at all. I had the best day ever. Still trying to decide how to confront my dad about how concerning this behavior was. Comments. Commenter 1. He knows what she is, but he gets to fuck a stripper in a red sparkly dress. That's all he's thinking. Don't confront him. Just let him know that when she takes all his money, he can't live with you. Commenter 2. I wouldn't invite this woman to any other event I promoted, and if my father got upset, that's his problem. Stories number 19. AIO for kicking my brother's girlfriend out after she broke my $3,000 printer. So I 26M work from home running a small 3D printing business. I make custom parts, miniatures, etc. It's my main income and I literally cannot work without my printers. My brother 28M asked if his GF Amy 25F could crash at mine for 2 weeks between apartments. I said sure, but I made it crystal clear my office was off limits. Like, locked door, do not enter. Couple nights ago I come home and my office door is open. Amy's inside, covered in resin, my $3,000 resin printer wide open, LCD cracked, sticky crap everywhere. She says she was just curious and wanted to make something cute for me as a thank you. I'm just standing there like. Because I'd literally told her the one thing she can't touch. She goes, well, it's just a fancy toy, right? And I kind of lost it. I told her to pack her stuff and leave. Now my brother's blowing up my phone calling me an AH, my parents are saying it was an accident and I'm being extreme, and Amy is posting vague FB statuses about controlling men and being punished for a mistake. Repairs cost more than a new printer, I have to pause orders, and everyone's acting like I should have just shrugged it off. Aita for kicking her out. Comments. Commenter 1. If I owned a food truck that was my income lifeline, let someone come stay at my place for a couple of weeks and told them to stay out of the food truck, then they burnt it down trying to make me some cute breakfast, I'd be beyond mortified and probably take them to court. Reply. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. Like, if someone destroyed your food truck after you told them not to touch it, you'd be furious too. This printer is my job and income, not just some toy. I'm honestly still figuring out if I should even bother with legal stuff, but right now it's just a huge headache and nobody seems to get how bad it is. Commenter 2. Nah, you're not wrong. She messed with the one thing you said was off limits and destroyed your livelihood. That's not an oops, that's a pack your stuff and go moment. Reply. Also, I forgot to mention, but the door was locked as well. The office is just a large walk-in closet and I put a childproof lock on it to stop my cats from going in there. Stories number 20. Aita for not letting my fiance's best friend live with us anymore, leading to the end of our 5-year relationship. Hi, I am currently going through a breakup with my fiance and I need input from strangers. My friends have been validating a lot of my feelings, but I feel like that could be bias. Some context: I'm 26M, she is 23F, we'll call her Kate. We've been together just under 5 years, engaged for almost 2, I proposed on our anniversary. Anyway, this time last year we moved into a rental property my parents own with her best friend, we'll call her May F27. For the 18 months leading up to this job I had worked law enforcement. That job 100% made me realize that you can't change the system from within and made me fully a cab. I was injured a few times and also dealt with some close calls and some really heavy things. Even though I knew I should have been talking to a psychologist about these things during my time, I kept neglecting my mental health until I broke down. I got injured again, couldn't stop smoking, and quit the job. I was in denial about my PTSD and kept trying to push past it and get a different job in security. I couldn't do this, and the feeling of failure combined with being terrified of everyone around me outside, I struggled to find the motivation to find another job or do anything. I struggled going to the shops for some time. During this time me and May were always around each other and butting heads. Shortly after we moved and we were setting up rooms, I asked her to not touch some 3D printed D&D models that I had made and painted, due to some breaking in transport and me not wanting to risk more damage. She ended up moving all of them whilst setting up shelves and even unboxed ones I didn't want unboxed. I told her I had specifically asked her not to touch them and it upset me she did. Her response was I needed to unbox stuff and put it on shelves before the party. We had a housewarming coming up. I told her she could have done that without touching them. She yelled they wouldn't have been touched if you had done it yourself. When I talked to my fiancée about this, she took May's side. This established a pattern. May would do something that crossed a boundary, and she would yell at that. I did also do things which crossed her boundaries, and I did try to apologize and explain that I didn't understand that had been an issue and clear communication would help me understand in the future. Few months go by, I am terrified of May. Every time I'm around her my heart is pounding, I'm looking for weapons, my body is reacting to her as a threat. And I unfortunately responded by being angry. I felt like my fiancé wasn't doing anything to make the house feel welcome to me. I begged her to talk to May and she said she did, but that I needed to apologize first and show that I can change. Eventually in January it reached a point where May would clean a small section of our patio and sit and smoke. We would all sit and smoke together, she would only clean the section she sat. That area was where I sat most of the time when she wasn't around. One week she got angry because I left my stuff in her spot, and a different day I didn't immediately stop smoking and move over for her. I told her it was a communal area and she didn't own that spot. The next day I came home and she was building a couch in that area. I told my fiancé that it seemed like a petty attempt to take ownership of the space. My fiancé dismissed that, but also said I wouldn't be able to sit on it due to the weight rating of it. I tried to overlook it, but I asked my fiancé to bring up moving it, because at this point I was too scared to talk to May and was avoiding her. My fiancé refused for a while, then did and said the couch stayed, and started telling me to suck it up, her actual words. This led to us arguing and me picking the couch up over our heads and moving it to the other side of the table. At this point May said they were moving out. I said it wasn't going to work with us together in the house. My fiancé and May spent the next 6 months just telling me to stop being angry and apologize and that everything was my fault. I had felt so ashamed for this entire year. I didn't tell my friends any of this until this past week. I was constantly sent to the bedroom when May was around, though she wasn't there every day. It felt like I wasn't welcome in the house. When I asked when May was moving out, I was told she wasn't, then she was. And this kept happening. I stayed scared of May. And then my fiancé began screaming at and berating me for not having empathy, for not loving her or caring about her. I yelled too, but I also slowly began to feel hated by her, and as it went on, I just wanted to do anything to keep her happy. I apologized and was yelled at by May. This happened 3 times in a row, so I gave up. I didn't care about May anymore. She destroyed the friendship we had. I felt so unsafe. I wanted her out of my life. But I could never ask my fiancé to give up her friendship. I just didn't want her in the house. I accused my fiancé of having an emotional affair. She denied anything, but also told me May thought she has been in love with Kate, but talked it through with a psychologist and she just loves her like a sister. This struck me as weird, and a lot of my friends are calling it manipulative. But last week we hit a point. Kate had gone off and spent the night where May has been staying and told me she was staying at 10:30 p.m. She gave May $1,000 recently to FIC their car. I finally talked to some friends about everything. They made me feel validated in my fear, my suspicions, and just didn't make me feel crazy anymore. I had been conflicted with how I felt. I knew I was wrong to be angry and I was sorry for my actions. And I tried to make up from them, but when I asked for the same, I got yelled at for asking. It felt like I was being told May can act however she wants and Kate will defend her, but if I step a toe out of line I will be told off. I felt like a third in my own engagement. Please let me know if you think ITA or NTA. I will try and provide any additional information if possible. Edit. I just found out that Kate has been lying to me for a few weeks about a mutual friend of ours, one of my best friends. Kate told me this friend thought I had changed and was no longer the person I was and didn't want me in their life. Due to this, I didn't reach out to them after the break until this morning. I asked how I had changed and why they didn't want me as a friend. She then denied not wanting me as a friend, told me she still loves me and wants me in her life. We've begun making plans to catch up and talk this weekend. This has made me realize that I well and truly have been manipulated and lied to, and that I'm not going crazy and losing everyone and everything. I don't know how long this has been happening, whether it's the full 5 years, or just since May has been this entwined with our relationship. Update, Aita for not letting my fiancé's best friend live with us anymore leading to the end of our 5-year relationship. So some people asked for an update. And I have a few good and a few bad things to share. Brief recap, my fiancée Kate and I of almost 5 years broke up a month ago after moving into a house with her best friend May. I was suffering from PTSD and left my job in law enforcement. I had set some boundaries with May and she kept crossing them. She would also get angry, yell at me and get in my face, and Kate would always dismiss these outbursts. So to the update, I stayed at my parents' house for a week. After returning I didn't know if Kate would be there or not. She wasn't. She took the cat and a few items of clothing, and all our sheets and pillows. I reached out asking if she wanted to talk about things and if she was working that Wednesday because we could sit down and discuss who gets what and her moving out. She had threatened to take all the furniture during the breakup, so I wanted to sit down and actually divide the things we'd bought together between us. She said she didn't want to meet, and that she asked for my roster to collect her stuff when I'm not there. Because of her threatening to take the bed and everything else, I said I didn't want her in the house without me and would change the locks. She eventually said she wanted to do it via text, but I told her it should be in person. There are a lot of things in a lot of random places which actually needed to be sorted through. She refused. I then found out a few days later from my brother she had messaged my parents, telling them I had turned off all her fish tanks and wasn't letting her in to do anything to them. I was more than happy for her to come over whilst I was here. I just didn't trust her after finding out about a lot of her lies about my friends hating me. My parents called, and the 4 of us spoke. My brother confirmed the tanks were all on and were clean. My parents told me she had hired a moving crew for Tuesday to get all her stuff. My parents own the house we live in. I put a lock on the bedroom door and changed all the locks in the house. I told her Tuesday didn't work for me, but Wednesday would work. She refused and said she was coming, so I sent the list of things she wasn't to take. And she insisted on taking the entire bedroom set. I told my manager about what was happening. She knew about the breakup. I broke down at work the next day and told her. She was so understanding and actually helped a lot, and I'm so thankful for her. On Tuesday they came just before I left for work. I called my brother and he started coming towards the house. I had moved all Kate and May's belongings outside that I could find and move. Had a friend help me with May's bed. My brother arrived after I left and told me they were inside the house. I told my manager, who agreed to let me leave early when the second staff started, which was in 5 hours. My brother planted himself on the sofa, kept an eye on the bedroom and kept me updated. When I arrived they'd gutted most of the house of all of their stuff, but also a few of my items. I found more out after it was over. But she took one of my consoles and the cables to my other so I couldn't use it. They didn't get in the bedroom or get the couch at least. I later found out they stole my cookbooks, the rice and flour and a few other weird things. However, not long after I decided to try and put myself back out there and just try and have some fun casual dates until I'm ready for something long-term. However, I quickly realized it wasn't for me anymore and I wanted something seriously. But I met someone and we immediately clicked. We were sending these huge paragraphs, info dumping to each other, and we shared a lot of the same interests and passions. We've gone out a few times now and I really like them, and I really hope this works out well, taking it slowly though. Stories number 21. Aita for asking for my dead sister's ring back after my brother used it to propose. My sister died when I was like 6 and she was 17. We weren't super close or anything, but I still remember little bits of her laugh, how she always painted her nails, her posters. She was like this perfect angel to my mum after she passed. I barely remember the funeral. When I was like 12 I found this old ring in her stuff, nothing fancy, just a silver ring a small stone. It fit me and why, but I kept it. It wasn't some big dramatic thing, I didn't steal it or anything, I just took it and started keeping it. I didn't wear it loads or flaunt it, just had it in this little box and sometimes I'd look at it when I missed her. It kinda became this one thing that felt like mine, like my piece of her. So anyway, last weekend we had this family lunch and my brother 27M brings his GF who everyone knew he was gonna propose to. And yeah, he stands up, does the big speech and pulls out the ring. My sister's ring. The one I've kept for like 7 years. I literally froze. His GF starts crying, PPL are clapping, I'm just sat there like WTF. I look at my mum and she just smiles at me like nothing happened. After dinner I ask her was that the ring and she's like yeah, your brother asked me and dad and we said it was fine. She said it was sweet and symbolic and my sister would have wanted it passed down or whatever. And I was like, it was never yours to give though. Like I've had it for years. And she just goes, oh come on, it's just a ring, don't be dramatic. But like when I had it, it wasn't just a ring. So yeah, I kinda snapped. Waited till PPL were outside and told my brother I wanted it back. He laughed at first, then was like no WTF, and I said okay, well then I'll tell your GF where it came from and let her decide. He got mad, said I was ruining his proposal and making it about me like always. My mum dragged me into the kitchen saying everyone noticed I wasn't happy and that I left halfway through dinner. Yeah, BC, I was crying in the bathroom like. Dad tried to calm it down but my brother kept going on about how selfish I was and that I'd been weird about my sister for years. I didn't even say anything, I just left early and haven't spoken to any of them since. Mum rang me yesterday saying have I calmed down and am I ready to say sorry, and I said not really and she hung up. My cousin texted me later saying it was actually super messed up and she doesn't blame me, but I probably could have handled it better, but I just felt so blindsided. It's not even about the stupid ring, it's just like they acted like it didn't matter to me. Like I didn't matter. So yeah, Ida. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. How did he even get the ring? It's not a family heirloom because that's his sister. He probably just found an easier way to propose to his girlfriend without paying anything. Honestly, the whole situation is weird. Of all the rings in the world, why this one? Reply, well, I often leave it in a small unlocked box. It's an inexpensive ring but it is extremely pretty, and if someone proposed to me with that ring without knowing the context I would be quite happy. Commenter 2, NTA. I'm sorry for both of your losses. The only way you are going to get it back is to tell the fiancé, but it will probably mean ruining your relationship with your brother and causing more stress in your relationship with your mother. Reply, I feel like such an asshole for telling her though, like I've just ruined her day, she's already posted the ring and everything. Commenter 3, info, how did he get the ring from you? Reply, I don't always wear it, I usually keep it in a little box. I wear it on when I'm having bad days or stressful times like during exams, it really helps me feel better, kinda like I'm doing this for her as well as me. I don't keep the box locked or guarded or anything, I wouldn't expect anyone to take it, it's just sat underneath my bed. Commenter 4, this whole post makes very little sense. How did the brother even know about the ring if OP has been wearing it for years? How did he get it? Why would he propose with a random, presumably kind of cheap ring? Reply, it's not super cheap ring, I'm not sure on the exact price, I just know it's not super expensive. Why he chose to propose with it I do not know, maybe he thought it was sentimental. Downvoted commenter, ESH. It wasn't your ring, any more than it was your brother's. The ring belonged to your parents, and they had the right to do with it what they wanted. They let you play with it for a while and then they gifted it to your brother. Pretty normal with things in the household. Where they become the jerks is that they did it without even talking to you about it. Reply: it doesn't belong to my parents, at least I don't think it ever did, and she's gone now and I don't exactly think she would be upset at the idea I kept it. How old are you? Reply: 19. Did OOP have the ring appraised? Reply: I've never had it like professional appraised or anything. Its price or even looks wasn't why I kept it, even though it is a pretty ring. I had it because it reminded me of her and it really does help having it on bad days. Update: the mods on the other AITA subreddit refused my post saying updates that don't resolve the conflict aren't welcome, so I'm giving a shot here. While the final judgment of my last post seemed to be NTA, I'm still so confused with the overwhelming amount of comments that said I was in the wrong. But one thing that a lot people did say is that I need to tell my brother's fiancée, and I guess that's right, as it did feel like I ruined her day with my strop. So afterwards I messaged, apologized and asked her to meet up for lunch as apology for the other day. I wasn't gonna ask for the ring back, I just wanted for her to at least know my side of the story, I guess. Anyway, we meet up for lunch, blah blah, small talk or whatever. And she shows me the ring and tells me that, oh, it's so pretty. I know it's not expensive, but if it means so much to your brother, for me to have it means so much to me. Like, okay, just miss out crucial info when telling you future wife then, I guess. I kinda just stared at the ring and didn't know what to say, and I guess she musta noticed because she began apologizing a lot, saying I didn't know, I'm sorry, and I finally got my ring back, or whoever's ring you wanna call it. I was near tears. She took me back to my friend's house as I thought that was gonna be it. Later I get a call from my bro where he says that I'm selfish and I'm so weird about my sister and that I couldn't let him have his day, and it had to be about me, telling me that I just ruined his marriage and that I can't claim anything with my sister because I was way too young to have a relationship. He ended the call and I tried calling both my parents, but they wouldn't pick up till my dad called later, telling me he's disappointed how I handle things and that I've blown up my brother's relationship over a person I barely knew. And honestly, at this point I feel it's all gone a bit too far. I don't think I can ever fave coming home, and I've just ruined my brother's marriage. Top comments. Commenter 1. If simply knowing the full truth was enough to make her leave, it means your brother was manipulating her anyways. You saved that woman. Nta. Commenter 2. What a bunch of fucking assholes. Of course a young child is going to look up to her older sister. I'm guessing that she was kinder to you than this bunch of ghouls. They knew what they were doing was wrong because they didn't tell you they were doing it beforehand. Pretending you have no relationship to your dead sister because you were young is just unfathomably cruel. No surprise the fiancé bailed. She saw how they treated you and realized that this would be her future if she stayed with your brother. Her actual feelings never mattering, only what he thought they should be. Best of futures to you. Sorry you lost your sister and have such a shitty family. Commenter 3. I think your brother ruined his marriage by stealing the ring and using it to propose and then lying about it to his girlfriend. If his girlfriend doesn't want to marry him for his own actions, then that's on him. Commenter 4. I think that you have to express that you're upset about them not asking you to grab the ring. Also, your brother accusing you of blowing his marriage, like, dude. He didn't even say the truth to his fiancée, that's the problem. I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have been an issue if you, your parents, and brother had a conversation before just giving the ring, explaining why he wanted to propose with the ring and what it meant to him. Deciding whether to give the ring or not as a family. I think that the ring doesn't belong to anyone, but to everyone in your family as a way to remember your sister. So if someone opposes giving it, simply don't give it. Update 2. My 19F parents 55M 53F blame me for ruining my brother's 27M marriage over my dead sister's ring and how to repair our relationship. My parents blame me for ruining my brother's marriage over my dead sister's ring. But essentially after I told my brother's ex-fiancée that the ring he used to propose was a keepsake I kept of my late sister, she gave it back and I presume broke up with him. As of now I've been staying at my friend's house and will be moving in to stay with my BF for a bit when he comes back from holiday. My parents have taken his side and they want nothing to do with me. My brother is the same. No one in my family, even if they are sympathetic, can get through to them and amend stuff. It seems the only way to repair the relationship would be to give the ring back, but even then I don't think I can. I'm at a loss and what to do and how to go about it. Feels like I'll never be able to come home. Top comments. Commenter 1. Here's the thing. Your golden child brother is not going to pan out as a functioning adult in life, and he won't be able to take care of your parents as they get older. So live your life, do the best you can, and just wait. Your parents will come crawling back one day. By the way, the fiancé broke up with your brother because he was so cheap he stole a ring from his baby sister that belonged to his deceased sister that the living sister used as comfort. The kind of man that can do that is not the kind of any woman of merit will ever want to be with. Commenter 2. You just found out that your brother is the golden child. If the ring is just a ring, then why did brother need it in the first place? Why is it just a ring when you want it, but it's meaningful when he wants it? Clearly, there is some cognitive dissonance going on from their side. You are navigating this correctly. You just saved some poor girl from being married to a man who steals from his little sister without empathy or remorse. Good job. Commenter 3, do not back down. If your brother was a sister and wanted it for an engagement ring, that might justify wanting the ring, but he wants to give it to someone outside your family, who presumably had no special relationship with your sister. It's your reminder of your sister. It's not up to anyone else to decide how important it should be to you, and it wasn't anyone else's to give away. You're moving out, you'll have space, they'll have space. Once things have cooled off, feel free to reach out in a casual way. If the ring comes up, explain once why it's important to you and make it clear you're not giving it back, then say something to the effect of, I want to move past this, but I don't feel you think I have a right to mourn my sister in my own way. If they don't care after that, it's a wasted effort. Update, Aita for asking for my dead sister's ring back after my brother used it to propose. I feel like before I say anything I need to clarify things people were confused about in my last post. Yes, I understand my writing style was messy. I was very emotional when I wrote my post and I did leave out some details. The ring isn't cheap, it's the color silver, it feels metallic and has a small stone/gem. I have no clue how expensive it is. My sister died when she was 17, my brother was 14. We don't ever talk about her, it rarely comes up other than the occasional time my mom reminisces. I wasn't close to her, I mean that in a way we didn't have a typical sibling relationship, but we still spent time together. She would brush my hair, drive me to the park. What I told the fiancé is what I essentially explained in the post. Why I didn't clarify it, I'm sorry, that was like really messy. As for what's the happenings, I'm now living with my BF and his parents on a semi-temporary basis. I met up with my aunt for coffee and she told me it's best I don't go back. Even if I give the ring back, my parents think I've burnt all my bridges. They have this idea that due to my age I can't claim to have had a relationship with my sister. Everyone else has tons of fond memories of her and I only have essentially a glimmer. They think it's weird how I act about her. They claim they've noticed it since her funeral and they've only just now spoke up about it. My brother is extremely angry. He thinks all I try to do is try and replace my older sister, the way I dressed, the subjects I chose, and that until I decide I'm not her and can never be her, he won't even look my direction. My aunt says she tried to reason with them but to no avail. The decision is out of my hands at this point, nothing I can do but move on. Thank you for all those that helped me. I appreciated everyone's perspective, but to the guy who'd made me to try and buy my nudes, you are actually a wronged. Relevant comments. Downvoted commenter. Hey OP, I read your first post and now this update. I do just want to say one thing to you, gently and not to in any way call into question the sentimental meaning of your sister's ring to you, but have you ever spoken to your brother about his relationship with your sister? How he felt when she passed? His memories of her? He was 14 when your sister passed away. I think that it may be good if you sit down with your brother and really let him talk about why he wanted that ring for his fiancée, what your together sister meant to him. I'm not saying that taking the ring without talking to you was okay or the way they've tried to deny your feelings about her is okay. But, it's not clear to me that you have really recognized how your brother may feel, and perhaps there is room for understanding and healing here. Reply, no one talks about her, everyone refuses to have any conversation about her. Can OOP reach out to her brother and hear him out? Reply, at this point he refuses to speak to me, but he was mostly the same, just refuses to speak about her. It was taboo. The only person who did was my mom, and that's basically briefly. Commenter 1, yikes, that's awful. Also, how can you simultaneously have no memory of your sister while also copying her? Your family is out of touch with reality. Commenter 2, they are so unhealed and so wrong. I pray you find peace and healing. That all of you do. Commenter 3, your behavior around your sister's death and memory is normal. It's healthy to want a personal connection with her, she is after all, your sister. Most people would feel similarly to you. Unfortunately, the toxicity and weird behavior by your brother and parents is not normal. They sound immature and full of resentment, like they own your sister's memory, and therefore how dare you intrude on that. TBH, their behavior sounds abusive towards you, almost like they are channeling all their pain surrounding your sister's passing towards you. Do you understand what I am saying? This current situation is a convenient excuse for them to vent this rage on you. It is not your fault this is happening, that your sister passed and you are present trying to understand who she was. Your family don't deserve you, don't beg for forgiveness nor a relationship with individuals who are so committed to rejecting your presence so thoroughly. They are not safe for you, lovely. I think therapy would help. Focus on other extended family members and your chosen family, BF, in-laws, friends. Good luck. Stories number 22. Aita for secretly recording my boss and sending it to HR. I have been dealing with this man for months and it has been exhausting. He constantly makes comments that cross the line. Sometimes it is sexist jokes about women in the office. Other times it is little remarks about how certain people got promotions because they knew how to play the game, which is basically his way of implying they did something inappropriate to get ahead. I actually went to HR about it earlier this year. I explained that his behavior made the workplace uncomfortable and that a lot of us were fed up. They basically brushed me off. Nothing happened and the comments kept coming, so I decided I was going to protect myself. I started recording him when he talked like that. It was not something I felt good about, but I was tired of not having proof. Last week he said something so bad that one of my coworkers actually left the room in tears. I caught the entire thing on my phone. I sent the audio file to HR thinking this time they would have to act on it. Somehow the recording ended up being emailed to the entire management team. I do not know if that was an accident on their end or if someone wanted to make sure it was heard by more people, but now it is out there and everyone knows about it. My boss has been suspended and the office atmosphere has completely shifted. People are whispering, side-eyeing me, and treating me like I am either the hero who finally stood up to him or the snake who crossed the line by secretly recording a conversation. I did it because I felt like I had no other choice. HR ignored me before and I was tired of him getting away with this. But now I am wondering if I went too far and if maybe I should have handled it differently. Stories number 23. Guest did a professional photo shoot at my wedding. I got married a couple of weeks ago and noticed this the day of but decided to table it in the moment so I didn't ruin the day. Now that the wedding and honeymoon are over, I can't help but circle back to how insane this is. For context, one of our guests is a professional photographer. They don't shoot weddings for close family and friends because they want to be able to enjoy themselves as a guest understandably. Well, right before the ceremony starts, this guest walks right into the reception space where the whole wedding party was hiding out as guests arrived with a whole wagon full of photography gear. I initially thought they decided that they wanted to act as another photographer, which would have been weird since they didn't say anything to me, but I wouldn't complain about that. Well, during the reception, I look out the window and see this guest outside with all their gear, taking professional headshots and senior pictures for some of our other guests. They were outside for over an hour and a half taking these photos, which were clearly planned ahead of time. The longer I sit with it, the more disgusted I feel. We paid a lot of money to rent the space and they thought it was the perfect time to take some senior pictures. What makes it worse is that the guest who is a photographer lives in another state, came in for the wedding, and stayed out where I live for another 4 days. The guests that they were taking photos of live in the same state as me, so they could have done this any of the 4 days after our wedding. I cannot understand why none of them thought this was disrespectful. Ugh, people. Stories number 24. Aita for refusing to give money for my brother's baby. I am in my late 20s, living on my own, paying my own bills, and renting a small apartment. I work full-time but I am not rolling in money. I budget carefully just to make ends meet and maybe have a little left for myself at the end of the month. My brother and his wife are expecting a baby. They have known about the pregnancy for months but they are not in a good financial position. A few weeks ago, my mom came to me asking if I could give them money to help out. She was not talking about a one-time thing either. She meant regular financial support during and after the pregnancy. I told her no. I am barely keeping myself afloat and it is not my responsibility to fund someone else's child. They had 9 months to save and plan for this. If they chose to have a baby, they should also take on the responsibility of making sure they can afford it. Ever since I said no, my family has been cold to me. My mom makes passive-aggressive comments about how I am selfish and arrogant. My brother barely talks to me. I feel like I am being punished for not giving money I honestly cannot spare. From my point of view, I worked hard to become independent and I am just trying to live my own life. I am not rich and I am not obligated to fund choices I did not make. So, Aita for refusing to give any money to help with my brother's baby. Stories number 25. My witness's husband tried to humiliate me at my own wedding, twice. After 13 years together, I 50M married my beautiful wife Lisa 45F this past December. We had a small and beautiful wedding with 20 guests. I've known Janet 50F for over 20 years. Something like a decade ago, Janet married Thor M50S, and we attended their wedding, which was a lovely backyard affair. Over the years, we've been to their home for Easter and Christmas dinners many times. It seemed like a no-brainer to ask Janet to be my witness. Thor is a retired ex-military veteran who fought in Afghanistan. He is loud. His normal talking volume is the equivalent of someone else shouting. I don't know if it's due to hearing damage from his service or if that's just his personality, but it's noticeable. I've never had trouble with the guy as far as I know, and we were always friendly with one another. I once 3D printed him a puzzle piece after one of his dogs ate it. As the ceremony was starting, I was walking to my spot for the vows. Thor and Janet were seated in the front row. As I passed Thor, he suddenly shouted, "How high are you? How many drugs are you on?" The commissioner was standing right behind him while he was shouting. I even have photos of this time and space. He was so loud that my parents later asked me, "What was Janet's husband talking about you being on drugs?" I hissed back, "I'm not." "Shut up," and kept walking. The ceremony itself went smoothly, aside from me accidentally saying Lisa during the I.O.P. hereby declare part. Everyone laughed. It was a nice moment during a serious event. After the signing, guests were crowding around to congratulate me. Suddenly, Thor appeared in front of me again, shouting, "Are you in pain?" Me, "Not the time or place, dude." Thor, "How much pain are you in?" Me, "Not the time or place." Janet's mother, Marilyn, who was standing beside me, asked, "Oh, why is OP in pain?" Thor loudly replied, "Because he has a hernia." Marilyn exclaimed, "Oh, I don't want to hear about hernias," in a disgusted tone. A few days later, I brought this to Janet's attention, and told her. Thor's shouting about me being on drugs wasn't just disrespectful, it could have jeopardized the entire proceedings. The commissioner could have halted the ceremony if they believed someone wasn't sober. Thor's shouting about my hernia was a complete betrayal of trust. My personal medical information is private, and certainly not something to announce to an entire wedding. When I asked why he did these things, Janet's explanation was that Thor's ex-military background meant he had worked in a toxic environment and can't tell right from wrong anymore. Then she said he was just joking, and that's the kind of humor military people have, like finding eyeballs floating in your coffee. I have no idea what that's in reference to, not sure if I want to know. Finally, she said, "If you need any kind of support, feel free to reach out to us." So, my wife replied, "If your offer of support is genuine, then you would ask Thor to apologize for his disrespectful behavior." Instead of apologizing, Janet sent my wife a long rant accusing me of having a mental illness, ending with "Not to gaslight, lol." My wife cried when she read it. One of my oldest friends made my wife cry. Guess the offer wasn't genuine. The really confusing part is that they gave us an expensive Ninja Woodfire outdoor oven as a wedding gift. I have no idea why you'd buy someone something large and expensive like that, and then try to humiliate them on their wedding day. The oven is awesome, by the way, it makes fantastic ribs. Stories number 26. Can you cover my shift? I am 36 years old. My co-workers are mainly in their 20s. I come from 11 years at a corporate desk job and find it horrifying that our group chat goes off all the time with 1. Can anyone cover me tonight? 2. Can anyone cover me tomorrow? 3. Can anyone cover me on XYZ? And if you don't answer, they private message you or corner you next time you're in and try to guilt trip you with a terrible excuse. I have a young child at home that I homeschool, my husband works a full-time physical job, and I started working here with an agreement from the big man that I am available 3 days a week. Even if I wanted to work more, I don't make babysitter money. In the last 3 months since starting, I've picked up 6 extra shifts. I asked for someone to switch with me, not even cover me for 1 day the end of September, and crickets. So, that 6th shift was the absolute last time I will cover someone. I told someone today, "No, I can't cover your shift and don't ask me in the future," because of how bitter I am about it. Last Sunday they called me 7 a.m. to ask if I could come in for breakfast. I said no, sorry, I'm not available today. They called me again at 3 p.m. and asked if I could come in for dinner. Ugh, thanks for listening to my rant.